Just didn't know what came along, finding myself much less happy. Back in the days I used to dream about one day a life so amazing, not everyone judging me. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wanna stay wide open. Can't stand to hear more today. I'm gonna lock my door and stay inside, away until I'm safe again. I have nothing more to put on. I'm defeated and withdrawn, just trying to understand where it went wrong. Always believe that nothing good in life is free, but it's overwhelming how people can hate on me. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. I wanna stay wide open. No one can break me, no one can bring me down. I wanna be where I'm safe and sound. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open. Don't wanna care about them, though it hurts so bad. I wanna stay wide open, 'cause if I shut down, it just gives them right. I wanna stay wide open. Oh, oh, oh. I wanna stay wide open.
Would you like to go with others? Would you like to go with me? Would you like to go with others? Would you like to go with me? Would you like to go with others? Would you like to go with me? Would you like to go
Oh yeah, it's Friday. Yup. You guys know what time it is? It's Friday! And it's a day for another episode of Beyond the Doll. Welcome, everybody. Okay, hopefully I didn't blow out your eardrums with that one. I'm hoping not. All right, let's switch over. Hello. What's going on, everybody? It's Friday. It's a pretty good week for me this week. Not that anything really went better per se. I'm just feeling better. So we are back. Sorry, everybody, there was no episode of the Doll Symposium. I know you guys were all looking forward to the news last week. Oh, why is my desk so dirty? But I wasn't feeling good. I really wasn't, and I just couldn't bring the energy. So I am back today. We're ready to go today, and thank you everybody for coming to my final episode of my YouTube career, because I'm pretty sure that today's topic will get me canceled. I'm sure people are gonna unsubscribe and get really mad at me today, because we are gonna talk about stuff that is it's a real touchy subject. Not even just for dolls, just in general, amongst society, amongst people. This is a hot topic. So we're gonna have fun with it, since it's gonna be my last episode ever before everybody cancels me. And we are gonna try our best to make this exciting, even though it might not be. We don't know. We don't know how this is gonna turn out. This is this is gonna be edgy today. So before we get started, let's just address everybody that showed up and that's here in chat today. Barbie Witch, welcome to the stream, Barbie Witch. It's good to see you again. Tempest Strife, welcome Tempest for being here. Kitten Cat Shop is here as well. Lovjacat, welcome to the stream today. PMB Sakura, welcome to the stream, PMB Sakura. Scruffy looking Nerf Hoarder, you are here. Evening, everybody. Did I miss any names? Oh, Cymex, Cymex, welcome. Let's see, what's going on? Oh, you need a beer? Barbie Witch wants a beer. Lovjacat is ready for this. I don't know how much more ready you're gonna be. It might be spicy today. I might offend some people. I'm not sure. I tried to organize this in best the way that I could, but I don't know how well this is gonna go. Let's see. PMB says Aqua came in the mail this week. Ooh, nice. Did you open her yet? Who was super excited to talk about objectification in whatever context. Barbie Witch, I don't know if you guys are going to be happy with the context. I don't even know if the context of today's episode will make sense. I tried to run it by my wife to see if it won't get me canceled. She said, depending on how I pitch it, it might go one of two ways, really. But congratulations, PMB Sakura, on Aqua. Can't wait to see pictures. Let's see. King Cat says my sound level is very low. I don't want to turn it up too high though, because sometimes I get loud and I might blow out people's eardrums. So I want to be careful. But I think I'll get like closer, maybe, to the microphone. I'll bring it closer to me, and hopefully that'll be better. Cymex says no. I don't know, Cymex. I might get canceled. Who knows? Baru sees us and turns heel. Oh my, touchy subject. We have been warned. Yes, you guys have been warned. What if someone tries to one-up you? I mean, they could try, and they might succeed. I don't know. I'm not trying to one-up anybody with this subject. I'm just trying. You know what it was? I was talking about this subject with somebody else, and it prompted me to, like any of my subjects, prompted me to like, hey, this is a good topic. Let's talk about it with the rest of my doll family. Let's see. Scruffy says, I don't get offended. I'm too offensive. Dude, I don't know, man. Sometimes I say things and people are like, so, you never know. You might end up being surprised what scumbags you're among. You guys, we'll see. We'll see. But you guys are champs for like digging in already for this. Logicat says, I'm a 40-year-old grumpy swamp witch with a dirty mind. Try me. Okay. All right. I will try you. We will test boundaries today. I have objectified a body or several. I think your gain is off. No. Is it really just me, or is it just Kit and Cat Shop that's having issues? Because I will turn it up, but I'm just warning you, if I turn it up too much, it might go crazy. Where's my gain? Okay, I turned it up a little bit more. I like a bit, because I didn't want to be like blowing up people's eardrums. Okay, so where am I? Oh, my keyboard is on the wrong space. All right. This is a safe space. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how safe a space it's gonna be. Okay, now before we get into the nitty gritty of things, I've addressed everybody in chat, welcomed everybody in chat, but I have to do my due diligence for the episode, and we are gonna do that now. Thy Geekdom Con. Okay, it's coming up real soon, people. Thy Geekdom Con's coming up in about roughly 2.5 weeks. Oof, it's coming up quick. May 24th to May 26th in the greater North Philadelphia area. This is Thy Geekdom Con 2024. I will be there. A bunch of other people will be there. We will have an actual doll booth. So it's going to be myself, Tempest Strife, who's in chat today, Kit and Cat Shop, who is also in chat today, will be there, as well as our lovely friends over at My Lady Disdain. John and Sandy will be there as well. And in a chance meeting last weekend, I had the unique opportunity to just randomly run into another YouTuber by the name of Studio Miscast. Maybe some of you may have heard of her. Studio Miscast was having sushi at the same place I was at, and we got to talking. And she says she's coming to Thy Geekdom Con. So we are also going to have Studio Miscast coming by to say hi. I don't think she'll be there all 3 days, but she did say she'll make a guest appearance. So can't wait to see her there. But Thy Geekdom Con is going to be great. If you're into anything geeky, such as anime, comic books, collectibles, video games, etc., etc., should I go any further, it's a great place to go to. It was a very small con, and every single year it keeps growing. Last year was pretty big, and I'm assuming in 2024 it'll be even bigger than it was before. So big, maybe at one point it might actually have to change venues. I don't think we've reached that point yet, but I have to say, every year that I have gone, it has gotten a little bit bigger from before. So hopefully we can get more of our doll family friends to come out. We are doing a bunch of giveaways, as well as, you know, you guys get to meet us and pick our brains, anything doll related or otherwise, really. But we are giving away some free dolls. There's going to be a grand prize. There's going to be secondary and third, and I think fourth, and maybe some consolation prize that we are going to be giving away that day, as well as do I have anything else? I don't know if I'm missing anything. There might be a scavenger hunt. I usually do scavenger hunts every con that I go to. I'm not sure if I'm going to do one this time around. It really depends. But if it is, it might be a difficult one this year. Just hint, hint. If I end up doing it, I don't know. I have lots of plans. I don't know if I'm really going to jump on those plans and actually do them, because like Danny, I have so many things I want to do, and like I can't really settle on one thing, and by the time comes, I got nothing, because I just working on too much. All you people out there that are creatives or otherwise probably relate, you know, in your everyday lives of things. There's lots of things you want to do, not enough time to do them. What is going on? Doll cosplays are nearly done. Nice. Working on art for a banner. Nice. We're still, you know, we're not fully set, people, on this booth. We are still, till the last minute, are working on stuff. So it's still going on, going strong. Destroy himself. How? Too many cute things. I don't know if that's really going to be the case. There will be a green screen you can have fun with. Ooh, I like the sound of that. There's going to be a booby prize too. I'm not supplying that one. Seven Stripes says just a bust. Barbie Witch gold-plated smart doll bust. I mean, you know, that could be a thing if you want it to be a thing. I can print the XL large smart doll file. Bonus third breast. What is this? Are we in Total Recall universe going on here? What's going on here? Alien bust. Listen, hopefully Thy Geekdom Con will be just as good, maybe even better than it was last year. So if you're able to come out to Thy Geekdom Con, definitely come out. The biggest day will definitely be Saturday. If you can only make it for one day, if you can make it all 3 days, great. We'll be there all 3 days. But if there's only one day you can get there, Saturday would be the best day. That's when everybody usually comes. Let's see. I'm just trying to decide what to do first. I think because, as you guys may or may not have noticed, we're gonna. Oh, before I put Thy Geekdom Con away, I forgot to mention Danny Chu's also coming to the West Coast. Anime Impulse in Seattle is also going to be this month as well. So if any of you West Coasters didn't know about it, he's going to be in Seattle for Anime Impulse. Definitely go there and check it out. And I believe our friends of My Lady Disdain will also be there. May is a very busy week for them. They're going to be all over the place, as they are heavily in demand, as rightfully so. They are great YouTubers in our community. So if you want, or if you are available, or if you're just in the West Coast, come check out Danny Chu, Smart Doll, and My Lady Disdain at Anime Impulse this May. I forgot the actual date, though. I don't remember. Anyone in chat remember the actual date? I think it's the 15th, the week of the 15th. I'm not sure. Could be. I don't know, but definitely look it up. Anime Impulse, because that was impromptu. I forgot to like set up a slide for that, so I do apologize. Let's see. So, other than that announcement, so I want to change it. Here we go. Back to the big camera. Okay. So you may have noticed that as I started today's episode, usually there's something that I always have here with me. And that is my lovely assistant. I don't have one today because I pitched the topic to all of my lovely ladies and they all booed me and said they're not showing up for this episode. So I don't know what to do. They don't want to join me. None of them. But because she is an OG representative, and because I just so happen to be able to convince her, or hers, should I say, because I have multiple of her, she decided to come out and hang out with us today. And the reason why she's coming out is for... one, the other girls didn't want to show up for today's episode. But two, she just so happens to be appropriately ready for today's episode, if I may say so myself. Anyone sees Danny Anime Impulse, tell him to come to Otakon? That would be awesome, but we have no idea. Here I thought you converted to the greatness of Amelia and were waiting to get your own Amelia. Before having another assistant. No, it's not Amelia. I have not yet been blessed with the gift of appreciating Amelia for who she is. I do apologize. I am a huge Rom fan, which is very awkward because out of ReZero, Amelia and Rem are like the favorites. I'm a Rom. I like Rom. Not many people like Rom. But no, it's not Rom. It's not Amelia. And it's not Chi, but that was a good guess. Guess. That was a good guess. But today, because we are talking about objectification, and she's absolutely dressed. The original Mirai, the OG Mirai, the milk skin tone color Mirai Suenaga is going to be my associate or my assistant for today's episode. Now, if I can get this, look at this. I can't even. All right, we're going to move the camera just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I forgot how the words go in that song. So, as you can see, OG Mirai here is wearing some OG stuff. So this is the original OG Mirai. You probably can't tell the difference of the milk skin tone color because the lights are probably, it's like really blowing her out, like the skin tone color variation. But if I make it any darker, I don't think we can really see her. I don't know, I guess that works. That kind of works, right? Yeah, I guess that kind of works. She's a little bit clearer now, right? A little bit clearer. So this is OG Mirai, and OG Mirai here is dressed in some OG clothing. So if you could see, she is wearing one of the original, if you guys remember, this was so long ago, but this is called the Nice Sweater. Came out, I believe it was the first year or second year of Smart Doll. But this is one of the OG sweaters, the Nice Sweater, as well as the OG parachute pants from Smart Doll. She's never taken this off for years. She's been wearing this. This is like her go-to outfit. So she has the original parachute pants and her original loafers, which, if you can tell, I don't know if you could see it, they're all beat up. The leather is flaking. They're starting to come off because years and years of use from 2013 till now. She has a lot of use to her. So you could see that she is aptly dressed. She is conservatively dressed for today's episode. But wait, there's more. There's more. There's more to today's episode. It's so pasty. Oh, why is it so pasty, Tempest? Oh, I guess because she's much paler, right? She's milk. The white balance. Yeah, the white balance doesn't work very well with this camera. Once I get my camera set up better, I should get better color clarity. But right now, that part of my new equipment is still in the works, so it's not finished yet. Rem, we don't use that word. I'm sorry, PMB. Milk does blow out easily. It does. It really does. It doesn't color correct very well. The R word, rice? As in omurice, she will be making shortly to impress Master. I love omurice, by the way. It's so good. I kind of thought you would bring out a dynamite in a bikini. Ooh, love Jakat. We might. Regret not getting the dolls earlier for the OG outfit. Hey, listen, you could probably still find some of those OG stuff flying around. But no, our second guest for today's episode to help us, kind of get into the mood of today's topic. Come on. I have no space. There's not enough space for both these lovely ladies. Oh my god, it's Mirai's twin sister. So we have two Mirais on today's episode. We have OG Mirai, and we have a very unique Mirai right here. This is Mirai Anniversary Edition, if you guys even remember what the hell that was, because that was a thing way back in the day. Not only is she Mirai the Anniversary Edition, which is currently the regular Mirai that you see now, but back then she was called Anniversary Edition. She is also the very first Cortex. So this is my Cortex that I built from the Ninja kit, the Ninja grade kit from way back when. This is the OG Cortex 1, and she is appropriately dressed for today's episode. As you can see, she's got her booty shorts on. She's got her camo. I can't even get her in. She's got her camo bikini today, getting a little risque. Because it's summer, she's got a little, open shirt. All of this is Smart Doll stuff, except for the booty shorts. But this shirt is one of my favorite shirts. This is an OG dress shirt. It's a long dress shirt. It goes all the way. I can't even get her in camera. It goes all the way down, to her knees. And it's got this really cool string that kind of keeps it closed. But yeah, so she is aptly dressed for today's episode, and they both are, for what we are going to cover today. Long live Cortex! Mirai Anniversary looks so much. Oh, we're in an ad break. Oh, maybe I should slow down before I start up. We are in an ad break. Thank you, YouTube, for giving me that reminder. So for those of you that are watching ads, I'll wait 5 to 10 seconds, because I know you're just going to hit skip anyways. But yeah, I always like OG wig color. The OG wig color has always been nice. This nice, brownish, auburnish. And, all I did with Anniversary Edition Mirai was I put her hair in a ponytail. I just put a little, rubber bandy thingy on her, and it gives her such a different look. I mean, look at her compared to non-ponytail hair and then ponytail hair. So definitely very different looking, even though it's the same girl. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Mirai Anniversary looks so much less flat looking with the blushing. Yeah, the blushing and the lip gloss is a lot more pronounced than OG Mirai. OG Mirai is a lot more muted, I guess you could say. Her features have some pronunciation. They do. Anniversary Mirai from OG 2013, the year of release of Smart Doll, versus a couple years later Anniversary. They definitely look different. That's for sure. I love the cut. That's my favorite, like Kanata's. Yes, it is just like Kanata's. Actually, I should say Kanata's is much like Mirai's. um, so, okay, so today, episode 41 of the Doll Symposium, we are talking about objectification. And we're going to talk about why I want to talk about objectification, because technically, objectification doesn't really pertain to this hobby, does it? Or does it not? Haha, that is the question, right? So let me go ahead and pop on over here, because we are talking about objectification, which is conveniently blocked by chat here, but you guys can read it. You guys know what we're talking about. All right, so I want to make sure we set some boundaries with today's topic. So I am going to use, I guess you could say, the standard or the most easily found definition of objectification, which is going to be Wiki. So if we look at Wiki, I will read it for you guys here, and Mirai is blocking my screen, so I'm going to have to, I can't even see. All right, so in social philosophy, objectification is the act of treating a person as an object or a thing. It is part of dehumanization, the act of disavowing the humanity of others. Sexual objectification, the act of treating a person as a mere object of sexual desire, is a subset of objectification, as is self-objectification, the objectification of one's self. So this is kind of like the boundaries, or what the basis is that we are going to be covering today. Now, there may be other variants or other versions of maybe objectification, and it really is something that everybody understands or knows about, but can be easily misconstrued, depending on how you tackle the topic or approach the topic. So let us talk about objectification in our hobby, or lack thereof, or maybe too much of there, depending on how this conversation goes with us today. So I was talking to a friend about, I guess you could say, I was talking to a friend about how difficult and or not difficult it could be to be a female in today's society. Now, obviously, I don't have much skin in this game, because I am a cis male. I can only empathize. I can only imagine. I don't know what it really is like to be a woman in today's society or in today's world. However, I was asking some individuals who are just so happen to be women as well. And, we were talking about different things, because they were like, oh, summer's coming up, and, I need to fast. And I'm like, why do you need to fast? She's like, I got to fit into that, bikini. I want to look summer body good. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You do you. You know what I mean? Whatever makes you happy, whatever you want to do. But me, with my dumb brain, because I was curious, I was asking her, and I said, you're probably going to slap me for saying this. But I asked her, I said, you know what? Just out of curiosity, do you fast and diet and exercise because it makes you feel better and makes you feel good because it's what you want to do? Or do you sometimes feel like you do it because society has this idea of what, I guess, the perfect woman should look like, or physical desire being like? And she said to me, she was like, well, and obviously this might be, she may not tell me exactly what she's thinking, because, it's not my wife. First of all, it's not my wife I asked. This is somebody else that's a female friend. So, we don't know each other like that. We're not that kind of a close. So she could have given me the politically correct answer. She could have given me the truthful answer. She could have just outright lied. I don't know. But what she said to me was the fact I do it because this is what I like to do and it makes me feel good. And I said, okay, whatever. I was just curious, and I know it's a touchy subject and it's a very personal one. So whether or not she wanted to answer in full honesty or not, completely up to her. And I don't blame her if she like lied or whatever, because it is an uncomfortable topic to talk about. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking for today's episode is that these dolls, our hobby, these vinyl dolls, these smart dolls, these A-Zone dolls, these Dolphy Dream dolls, these, I guess you can even include everything else like Bratz and Disney dolls and American Girl dolls or whatever. They're all based upon the female figure, right? They're all based upon, I guess, this society's idea of what a woman would look like, I guess you could say, of a certain age. Let's say that way, because let's face it, most of the dolls that you buy are not of an older variety. Like, you know what I mean? Like the dolls that you buy are not necessarily like a middle-aged woman or an old woman. Normally the dolls that are for sale are usually of a younger crowd. Like they're either, some of them are really small to represent like children, let's say. Some are a little bit bigger to represent high school students. Some are slightly more mature in proportions to kind of represent maybe a woman in her young 20s, like maybe college age and or as such. We don't normally see dolls being sold, of women that maybe in their 30s or their 40s or their 50s or whatever, going upwards. You don't normally see that. However, Smart Doll is now launching their dolls called the Pear Body, as most of you know in chat, but for those of you not familiar, they are releasing Pear Body. And Pear Body is a smart doll that is a little bit more, curvy, a little bit more heavier set, than what you would define as the classic shape of doll. And that's what I'm trying to understand, because this definition from Wikipedia of objectification, it's treating a person as an object or a thing. It's dehumanizing a person as a sexual object or, some kind of sexual reference, right? But these dolls are dolls. They're not a person. They are the thing, right? You know what I mean? Like, we're not objectifying Mirai as a sexual object according to this definition, because she's not a person. And I know that's offensive to Mirai and all the other vinyl girls in Smart Doll Land and other words, because we like to all believe that these are our lovely ladies and that they all have a soul and they're one of our family and cherished members. But realistically and objectively, they are dolls, they are objects, they are things. So does the idea of objectification really apply to these dolls and our hobby? Does it? It got me thinking, you know what I mean? Because they're not people. No offense, Mirai, I'm so sorry. I know that sounds terrible to say, but they're not living, breathing human beings. They're not people that have minds of their own, even though we all like to believe they have their own personalities and their own wants and their own desires, because that's what we enforce upon them or put upon them, right? So they are, for the lack of the better word, they are objects. They are things that we buy. So, can we really be objectifying them? Like when we dress them, whether you decide to dress your doll like OG Mirai and be fully covered from head to toe, maybe a little bit showing in the bust because you have like this quote unquote nice sweater from Smart Doll, which is, by the way, very nice. It's one of my favorite sweaters. Or if you so choose to dress your doll a little bit more risque. And it's not even risque per se in my eyes, because this is probably something you would see, a woman wearing, during the summertime, especially around the beach. Now maybe a little out of place if you saw them wearing this, like at a wedding in the summer, or unless it's a beach themed wedding or something. But you know what I mean? There's a time and place for everything. And it looks like something that someone would wear going out to the beach. It's not too crazy, it's not showing too much. But it is a little bit more showing off of her curves, showing off of her, midsection and her bust area there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fully clothed like OG Mirai here. So can you really consider this? Can this really be considered objectification when talking about our dolls in particular? Talking about the hobby, because Lord knows that even if we as doll owners, as doll family, don't see this as objectification, because in our minds we're like, these are our peoples, these are our loved ones, these are our besties, but let's say we go out to the beach to take pictures of Mirai in her new stunning outfit. Would the onlookers, would the passerby see this cis male with this, for lack of a better word, half-naked doll, I guess you could say, from a layman's point of view, they would see me taking a picture at the beach and say that I'm objectifying women because I am putting this doll in this quote-unquote skimpy outfit, and I am objectifying her, to this, I guess, sex idol or sex icon or something of that nature, right? Like, I'm not saying everybody thinks that, but I'm saying, to the passerbys that know nothing about the hobby, maybe they think that, maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think? I see chat going crazy. It's probably because I said a bunch of offensive things, isn't it? You guys are all yelling at me and I didn't even see it. Let's see. Kin Cat Shop says, advantage of being 50 plus, out of the gene pool. Aw, don't say that. How was this making you a monster up to this point? Or are you winding up for the pitch still? I was winding up. I don't know if you guys have heard it yet. Comfy, full tummy, no makeup. Kitten Cat same. King Cat Shop, Forever 17 is what they said in the past in SMD land. Really? I don't even remember that part. Did they say Forever in 17? Barbie Witch says, but they embody a type. This is true, which is going to get into my next point. I'm getting to that in a moment. Kitten Cat says, I admit being uncomfortable with the double XL and triple XL busts, but that's my personal hang up. You know what? I am also uncomfortable with that. You're not the only one. I may not be female, like anatomically wise or whatever, but every time I do see the really, really large busts, like I feel uncomfortable. For one, okay, so for me as a cis male, it makes me feel uncomfortable because if I were to be seen with a doll with triple X large busts, I think the average layman or even someone within the doll community would look at me and think that I'm a pervert, right? At least I would think that's what people are looking at me as. That's how I feel. I'm not saying that that's what people are saying about me, but that's just how I feel because it's a little excessive, especially for dolls of this figure. Like if it is to be believed that this doll were to represent a real live person, then something of a triple X bust large doll with the headlights on, that looks a little shady if I'm like hanging around with that, right? Like it doesn't really give you a good look. Not to say that people are wrong for collecting or wanting to do those things, but I'm just saying, me personally, I feel a little awkward around it. I mean, most of my dolls don't even have large busts unless it's something that came default with the doll because of a character. So with Smart Doll Land girls, all of them pretty much have medium or small. I never bought anything bigger than medium. For my Dolphy Dreams, they do go up to large, but that's because that's the character. Like the character had a large, I like the character from the show, and it just so happens to be that way. But if it was my choice, like if I was making a custom doll or anything like that, I personally wouldn't have it that large. But that's just me. That's my personal tastes, though. Everybody else is different. But that's how I would feel personally. So whether or not people are saying that about me or not, that's just how I feel. And that could be me judging others. That could be how I feel about others judging me. That's a whole other, subject that we could tackle it maybe at a later date. But I do understand, Anna, what you're saying. The Barbie Witch says, they make me uncomfortable too, but I am not their target audience, I don't think. For one thing, they don't have much to do with what naturally large breasts look or act like, that is true, Barbie Witch. I mean, not to sound too pervy, but like the way that they're shaped, like if you look at the Smart Doll website and you search up the XXX large bust, it's just the way that they're shaped. I mean, they're shaped in a way that it's like, that's not humanly possible to like I feel to be shaped that way. But then again, I am not a female anatomically, so maybe they could be shaped that way, but I don't think so. But maybe that's just me. Barbie Witch says if it's someone's fantasy, Jim Jam bless. Yeah, and that's another thing. It could be someone's tastes, but could someone's taste in society's view or in society's definition, could that be objectification? That's the thing. Isn't this the whole prawn anime girl discussion? It kind of is. It kind of is, but kind of not. It's a little bit of both. If you're objectifying the female form, then we all are. I have seen some on Twitter where the doll can't stand because the bust is so big, bigger than triple X large. I still can't believe people do that. I don't understand it either, but that's because I have different tastes. Like, I can't really speak for the individual that really likes those things. I would need somebody on the show that really cherishes that type of body shape or style to kind of give their opinion on the matter so that we can even begin to understand what's going on. Because right now I can only guess for those individuals. King Cat Shop says, we use the large bust to pair to represent a larger overall body. Oh yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense because it gives you a little bit more fill, I guess, for the clothings, so to speak. Barbara says, I feel like it starts to get kind of weird when it gets into special body that has special hole for human appendages and what. Well, that's a different kind of doll, Barbie Witch. That kind of doll is a very different doll. That is not our dolls, unless somebody gets creative and starts putting holes places. But that's a whole different discussion that I definitely don't want to have. Dell represents woman, thereby represents a woman. Oh, you're saying doll. I think you meant to say doll, right? Doll represents woman, thereby represents a woman. Barbie, still not for me to yuck someone's yum. Simex says, I have a DD large and I hate how big her chest is. Makes it hard to dress her how I'd like. I have to work hard to tone the girls down. So yeah, you know what, Simex, that's a good point, because I do have some of my Dolphy Dreams that have the large bust because that's how the character is. And I do have to say that the large bust, even though it's not normally to my liking, there are some outfits or some clothes, if you're going for a specific look, does fill those fashion looks a little bit better than it should if they didn't have the large bust. But again, it depends what kind of look you're going for. And you could definitely go for a look that requires a large bust, but doesn't necessarily have to be something that's considered, I guess you could say, risque for a better explanation. But you know, like getting back to the point of objectification, can it be in the doll hobby? I'm thinking, here's my thing. Because like I said before, these, for all intents and purposes, these dolls are not people, as much as we like to believe they are. They are things. They are objects. So therefore, by the definition of objectification from Wikipedia, we can't really objectify them because they're not people. They're things, they're objects to begin with. However, what is the object representing? See, this is where it gets sketchy, because the object itself is mimicking or is based off of a female person. Like it's based off an actual person, however exaggerated. The point is, it's a person. So even if you're not a doll collector at all whatsoever, if I randomly pulled out a smart doll and showed it to you, especially a Mirai smart doll, and I showed it to you, you would automatically say that is a female doll. That is a girl doll. That is a doll for the truest sense of the words of what the layman would envision in their mind a doll. Because as much as we want to think it, I think the general consensus when people think dolls is always of a female gender doll. There are male dolls for sure, but I think the layman, the person that doesn't collect dolls whatsoever, when you mention the word doll, the first thing that pops in their head is probably something like Barbie or Cabbage Patch Kids. I'm showing my age. Or American Girl. That's probably the first image that pops in, because that's what, even though they're not collectors of dolls, that's probably what they see when they go to the store. Like if you go to a Target or you go to a Walmart or something like that, or Toys R Us, and you go to the doll section, they're usually of a gender that is considered cis female or anatomically female. I hope I'm not offending people, because I am not well versed in all the proper words and lingos of, of being, I guess, appropriate. But they're always, it's usually known to be a female anatomically doll, right? And because the dolls are based off of that, and they're based off of a living, breathing person at some point, and they're supposed to represent that person, I guess it could be objectifying. If you think about it that way, then you are objectifying, especially if you're doing it in a what's the right word? If you're doing it in a manner that is, as the definition states, dehumanizing or over sexualizing a desire. So, for example, OG Mirai here, if we're going to use the term objectification with her as a person and not an object, right now, I mean, she kind of just looks like, I guess you could say, your modern day woman. Like she's dressed in an appropriate length pants. I mean, even if it's not this long, even if it's shorter, like capris, I mean, that's in today's standard, that's an acceptable length. That's considered a normal length that you would see with clothing. And most of her body is covered. The only part of skin that is showing is her hands and a bit of her, of her chest area, her bust area, because of the design of the shirt. Now, technically, you don't have to dress her like this, but the owner, which I guess you could say is me, or the daddy, which sounds so wrong in this context, but like if these are my girls, so to speak, I guess I would be the daddy. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation that we don't need to have either. But like, as the owner, I can choose how to dress them, and if I so chose to dress them like this, because I think this is an appropriate outfit for a beach photo shoot, because you're at the beach, normally you would wear a bathing suit of some sort. You normally wouldn't wear full-length pants at the beach because it's very hot outside. I think, this is appropriate. But what if I took her out like this on a winter day to take pictures outside? Then maybe people might say, hey, that guy's objectifying women in a sexual manner, because what woman would go out in a bikini and booty shorts in the dead of winter, right? So now it becomes which way are we going with this objectification, right? So it can be a slippery slope, and depending on how you broach the subject or attack the subject, you could definitely be accused of objectifying women, especially as a cis male. I think that you could. I don't know if it's possible to be objectifying a woman if you are a woman. I guess you could. I mean, objectification, by the very definition of the word, is not gender specific. So a woman could objectify another woman if they so choose, especially if they were someone that was attracted to the female form. That could definitely happen as well. So, but I do think that as much as prior episodes of Beyond the Doll, when we had our guests Anna and Corey on, and Lisa and Becca on, talking about perception of male and female doll owners, if I were to be walking around in the dead of winter with a doll dressed like this, I think more people would think I'm objectifying women than a female walking around with a doll dressed like this in winter, right? Like, because I'm exploiting the female form to my tastes in an environment that does not suit that, like if it was the dead of winter. If that makes any sense, right? So that in that respective aspect, or that specific example, that kind of would be objectifying, wouldn't it? Let's see. How are you guys responding to my spicy takes right now? Barbie Witch says, someone apparently really made such a body at some point. 1/3 scale human size whole. Stop saying whole. I was only told about it. I don't know how these physics could work. King Catchup says, dolls, both male dolls and female presenting, are fantasy. Both can be objectification of humans. Right, because they're representing the human form. They're representing humans. So even though the definition of objectification says the act of treating a person, if these represent a person, is that not a person itself? And now we're getting really philosophical here. It's like, if you put a cat in a box with a stick of dynamite, the cat is both dead and alive at the same time, because since we cannot see into the box. No, I'm getting too far into this. This is this whole Schrodinger thing. This is going a little bit far afield. Lobstercat said, I would think that Guy is a bit perverted. See, and that's what I think. And I'm not judging you, Lobstercat. I'm just saying the average layman that's not even in the hobby would see that as a guy being a bit perverted. Like I can even see that. I that's how I feel. That's how I see it. But like what would you guys really think? Is what I'm trying to find out rather. Kitten Hat Stuff says true Cymex. I don't think non-doll people look at male doll enthusiasts the same as females, and that is totally true. I agree with that. Barbie says, I agree that men get looked at more critically. That is in, at least in my opinion, I feel like we do. Kitten Cat Shop, objectify a male? I mean, we can. I mean, technically, women do objectify men. Some women, I mean, you do have things like, what was that? Magic Mike. How about Magic Mike? Anyone seen the movie Magic Mike? I have not seen it. But one would say that's an objectification of the male body, right? I mean, the act of dancing in that manner is a sexual objectification, is it not? So, I mean, you so can objectify the male form as much as you do the female form. 100%. Barbiewood says, oh, absolutely, women can be exploitative. Yeah. Well, we all can. We're all guilty of that, I feel. But sometimes some more than others, I can admit. Cymex says, I think the idea is women play with dolls as projecting that what they wish they could be, but men likely are where the objectifying is aimed at. Which I understand what you're saying. So to take an example that I'm borrowing, and I forgot who said it. It may be Barbie Witch that said it. I think it was, or it was either Barbie Witch or Lovjacat. One of you told me this, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. Where if you take superheroes an example, Superman, is supposed to be perfect, right? Superman is the alpha male. He represents what boys, I guess you could say, should be. Very chivalrous, very well-groomed, good-looking, very muscular, alpha male looking. And then Supergirl, or I guess Supergirl would be kind of gross because it's his cousin. But let's say Wonder Woman. Let's say Wonder Woman for this example, is made as the prize for the superhero man. Not necessarily the hero themselves, but initially, I guess you could say, is the sexual prize for the superhero male, or like the equivalent, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying that example right, and I think it was Lovjacat that maybe mentioned that or something. But like I agree, like at least back then, back in the day, not in today's society, but back in the day when they started creating female superheroes or female heroines, they were more like the eye candy for the superhero, so to speak. They weren't really looked at as the hero themselves at that point, even though they tried to depict that. Most, I guess, collectors or comic book enthusiasts back then kind of saw them as, hey, that's a hot superhero chick, so to speak. And even more so, they liked it when the two superheroes got together and you're like, ooh, perfect couple kind of thing, I guess. Who knows? Let's see. Tempest says, can absolutely objectify a woman as a woman. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I kind of color corrected myself after the fact. Can be objectify yourself. Like as in the Wikipedia definition. You totally can do self-objectification. Please see adult video industry. Yes. That is a very good example of that. Okay, Kitten Catchup says, oh, the BJD world, boys seem more popular. Lots of serious beefcake or very feminine. Well, there definitely is no in between on either side, I would say. So like, at least historically speaking, for the female dolls, it's always been something very voluptuous or something very, how should I say, teeny tiny, like a child complexion. For male dolls, it's always been something very huge and muscular, or very much so a BTS slim fit body. Really nothing any in between or otherwise. Until Smart Doll came around and created pair dolls, which is definitely something different from the norm that people are not used to seeing. That is a welcomed addition to our doll hobby. But there's definitely a difference in that aspect as well. Let's see. Lavjikat says, my girl dolls are mostly not dressed, very slutty, but my male dolls, though. What are you trying to say about the male dolls? That they're like completely naked, or they're fully clothed? It could go either way with that statement. Corey says, I'm really fighting the urge to rehash the whole perception episode again. No, look, and you know what, Corey, you're not wrong. I mean, this episode is kind of delving into a part of the whole perception, because the whole reason of objectification is based upon your perception of it. So it is kind of branching off of that topic. But I literally had this discussion with somebody this week, so I didn't have enough time to scrounge up guests, to chime in on this topic. Let's see. Barbie Witch says Magic Mike is more than that, but on the surface, sure. Well, I never watched the movie, so I'm definitely speaking from the layman's point of view. Barbie Witch says swipe left, swipe right. It's all about snap judgments about appearances. That's true. It is. Our society nowadays is very much so judged on appearances, especially with things like Tinder, for example, where you're swiping left and right on people. These are real life, actual people with feelings, and you're just like, nope, yes, nope, yes. Like, but they don't see that, right? So because the people on the receiving end don't see that, for some reason it's okay, I guess. Kitten Hopchest says 90s comic women basically bodysuits regardless of character. This is true. Like, I mean, i.e. She-Hulk, i.e. Wonder Woman, i.e. well, Wonder Woman didn't have a bodysuit, but who had a bodysuit? Invisible Woman, Kitty Pryde, Jean Grey. I mean, the list can go on and on. P&B Soccer, I wish we could get some boy dolls. I mean, listen, boy dolls exist. They exist, and companies try to make them exist more. People just don't buy them. And that's a whole nother discussion in and of itself. And we kind of had this discussion before in prior episodes about maybe the selection that's being released is just not suited to the taste of the people that want the boy dolls. Or maybe the boy doll collectors are just outcrying more and just very loud, but in reality, there's not many people that really want boy dolls. So there really is a whole dichotomy of how that whole boy doll thing comes to be. But it's not like they weren't offered. It's just whether or not the voice is louder than the outcry is louder than the demand, or it's basically the demand is there, but what is released is not what is expected or wanted. Lavshakat says, yes, male superheroes are made as the male fantasy to be, the girls to be the price sexy thing to want to have. Both are made for the male gaze. Yes. So see, that reminds me, definitely Lavshakat that said that to me prior. Thank you, Lavshakat. Let's see. King Cat Shop says, I want a dad bod smart doll. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We could definitely have that. We have pair girls. We can definitely have dad bod for sure. But again, as last episodes went, me and my personal opinion, my personal taste, not opinion, my taste is that I like something that I can project upon. I personally don't collect dolls that I can identify with, because I just don't like identifying with my dolls. I want my dolls to be something that I use my creativity or my wants for. Or just my collectibles because it's a famous anime character that I really like. But a dad bod, I think, would sell. I think it would. I mean, although, to be fair, I think pair girls will definitely sell more than dad bod would. I really think so. I think dad bod would sell, but I think pair girls would still sell more than the dad bod dolls would. At least that's what I think. I think that dad bods are something that people want. I think it's something that people will buy, but I don't think it will eclipse pair girls. And even if we had dad bod, what would we call it? because it's already pear doll, right? So what would the dad bod be? What's the dad bod? And don't say banana. We're not like what kind of fruit shape would the dad bod be? I don't know how that would work out, because I'm trying to think, like, what would a dad bod shape be like? I mean, it would be like a pear too, wouldn't it? Or would we say apple? Would it be more like an would it be more like an apple? Let's see. Barwich says, I don't know if it's possible to be objective about objectification in dolls as a doll enthusiast. I'm not buying them for their hot bods. I did buy pear dolls for their hot bods, but that's different. No, you know, you're not wrong, Barbie Witch, which is the whole conundrum I had before this episode. I was talking with my wife during dinner, and I was like, I want to pitch this episode tonight. I want to talk about it, but can I really be objective about objectification in dolls? I had that same thought, Barbie Witch. See, we're same mind, same mind. I had that same thing. I was like, I don't know how well this is gonna go, so I feel like I'm gonna get canceled. But yes, you're not wrong. It is kind of hard to think objectively when you're an enthusiast in the hobby. But then again, sometimes the enthusiasts know more about the hobby, and sometimes they can get a good opinion on either side of the subject. But everything is subjective in this world nowadays. There is no black and white. Everything is gray. Everything is gray. Logicat says, I have a Soom boy, a Prilla Story boy, and 3 different Fairyland boys. Very different styles. I would love a Vinyl boy. I would kill for Kaito. Kaito, you know, I don't know if Kaito will ever get a re-release, but you could hire Proxy or go to Japan and custom build your own boy doll. So that is an option for you, and you won't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money as Kaito would be on the secondhand market. Unless, of course, you are a huge Kaito fan, then by all means, go get yourself a Kaito. But if all you need is a boy body, then I would suggest not buying a Kaito because he's going to be expensive, and just hire a Proxy to get you a custom Dolphy Dream Choice boy body doll. Dad bod would be dad bod, obviously. I mean, yes, because it's called dad bod, but, you know, I was just thinking for smart doll purposes, because we already started with fruit. I kind of figured the dad bod would be some type of a fruit. But there, you know, also, okay, here's another tangent. Going on with dad bod, okay? Dad bod is, in today's world, is a socially acceptable term. I don't think anyone says dad bod and becomes offended. Like, I definitely feel like I have a variation of dad bod because I'm no Arnold Schwarzenegger, clearly, and I'm no Bruce Lee either, clearly. Like, I'm not that kind of fit and ripped. I definitely have a dad bod because my gut is way bigger than my upper body, for sure. So I have a variation of dad bod. Obviously, there are many variations of dad bod, as much as there are many variations of pear girl. But I think in all aspects of dad bod, I don't think anyone considers it an offensive term, or at least men. Men don't see it as offensive. I don't think anyone has ever said to a male, "Hey, you got a dad bod," and they get offended. I'm sure there probably is somebody out there that would get offended by it, but like, I personally was not offended. I personally have not met anyone that's offended by the term of dad bod. I usually have met a lot of other guys that consider themselves, hey, I got a dad bod. Like, I see a lot of people say that. But on the flip side, I don't hear many women saying I got the mom bod. Like, is there even such a term? Like, I don't even know if one exists. And if there is, I'm drawing a blank. Like, do people say mom bod? Like, that's my thing. Like, I don't think I've ever heard it before. And if I have, and if it exists, then I definitely haven't heard it. But if it doesn't exist, then, you know, hence, I guess, why we have pear-shaped body girls, right? Or the pear dolls. But is there something, is there an equivalent? Is there a mom bod by any chance? Let me see, because I know there's a little bit slight delay, so maybe you guys can answer in chat. Um, what's going on in chat? Wait, what? Oh, okay. So here's where I left off. So Barbie Witch says there's nothing else like a pear doll before, and that was something I could uniquely identify with. And that's totally fine. I think most people that buy pear dolls are definitely coming from that same aspect. Logicat says I have. Oh no, I passed that one. I did Logicats. Kitten Cat Shop says I like the variety, but not looking for mini me. Prefer the youthful fantasy. Dad bod was a bit of a joke. No, but I'm in the same boat, Anna. I don't want personally. I don't need a doll to look more like me. I want my more fantasy dolls. Like, but then for me wanting the fantasy doll, for me wanting a female figure that looks like Mirai, is that me objectifying women? Because that could make me an offensive person, could it not? Like if because I want the fantasy version of the female body, as in Mirai's body or Adolphi Dream, that's me objectifying the female form, therefore me objectifying women. But then again, it also depends on how I dress them, maybe. But that's why we're having this conversation today, because could you be offensive by just being a doll collector? Or could you take it one step further? You're offensive by being a doll collector and then dressing your dolls in a more provocative manner. You know what I mean? But then what if you yourself, like what if I was, let's just say for the lack of a better example, what if my profession was I was a female stripper? Let's just say I was a female, I was a stripper by profession. That's what I do on a daily basis. And I just so happen to be a smart doll collector, and I dress my doll like I dress when I go on stage. Now, would that be objectifying women if that's just me identifying with a doll? Like if I made a custom Mirai to look like me and dress like me, would that then be objectification? That actually, technically, according to this definition from Wikipedia, that would be self-objectification, right? Would that not? Barbie Witch says dad bod would just be dad bod. PMV Sakura, no six pack. Hey, listen, I got a pack. It's called a 1-pack. That's what I got. I don't got a 6-pack. I don't got a 4-pack. I don't even have a 2-pack. I just have the 1-pack. That's all I got. I got the one large pack. That's what I got going on. I got the one large pack. So I don't have 6 individual tiny packs. I just got one giant one. Barbie Witch says he only drinks a 6-pack. Fist bump. Yo. Kitten Cat Shop says Barbie Witch, not vinyl dolls, but pears and soft bellies have been around for a few years in the BJD world. Have they? Because I'm not very well versed in the resin side, right? I know that Anna does, and definitely Becca knows a little bit more about the resin side than I do. So have they had more of the bigger size dolls in the resin side? Because that's interesting for me, because I didn't know that. Let's see. Corey says, serious question. Is there as much objectification of the pear dolls as there is the classic doll shape? Is there a different standard? Because you can definitely dress a classic doll in a manner that would be considered objectification. And you could definitely dress a pear doll in a manner that would be considered objectification as well. I mean, to use colloquial terms today, isn't that what the youth, I say youth because I consider myself an old person now, but the youth of today, like my daughter's age, didn't they say the words, isn't what the word is called thick? Like that's what they would call a person like like thick. I think that's the right use of the term. I don't know. I could be 100% wrong on that. But if you had a thick girl and you dressed her in a manner that is considered quote unquote risque, then that's still objectification also, I believe. I don't think there's necessarily a different standard. I just, for lack of an educated way of saying this, the more skin, the more objectified the person, I think is probably the way to go. Maybe. I don't know. Because again, I'm offending everybody in today's episode. I'm just putting that out there right now. This is why I'm getting canceled. Lavjacat says potato bod. Yeah, dad bod could be called potato. It's the potato, the potato, with the potato body. Yeah, we could go with that. That works. King Cat Chop says, I think objectification also pulls a bit into fetishes. Ooh, that's a hard one to say. Fetishization. Yes. Uh, Yeah. Yes, you're right, because certain fetishes. Uh, well, I feel like all fetishes are basically objectification, right? Oh well, no, it couldn't be all, because some people have, like, if you had a foot fetish, right? That's that's objectifying the body part, like the foot itself. But are you objectifying the woman or the person? I mean, the foot is a part of the person, yes. So in so doing, then yes, you're objectifying the person. But like, if it's a specific part more so than the whole totality of the person, does that make a difference, or is it one and the same? Because you can definitely just be guilty, because I know many men have been guilty of this. I don't think there's any secret that men have been guilty about this, but definitely a woman's bust can be objectified, and that's just one single part of the body instead of the whole of the body. So I guess, yeah, all fetishes is objectification, I would say. I think that's pretty standard for it to be a fetish, right? If not, I think there's another ad coming up in like 40 seconds. Just giving you guys a heads up for those of you that get ads. Barbie Witch says, Kitten Hat Shop, I've been out of BJDs for a while. The ones I've ever seen tended to be rounded off, like Emmy back in the 90s, or Esme, the plus size model by Tonner. That's a conversation between you guys. I have no knowledge of that stuff. PMB Sakura, would a mom bod be a pregnant lady? Well, I mean, that's, I guess, the very definition of a mom bod, because she's going to be a mom. There's a child in there. So that is a mom bod. But I think what we're really referring to, if we're saying mom bod, is probably not necessarily post-pregnancy, but somebody that is, I would say, in their, in their midlife stages. Because obviously men don't get pregnant, unless you watch the movie Twins, which is a very funny, hilarious movie. But, men don't get pregnant, but we still have dad bods, regardless if they are a father or not. You could have what's considered a dad bod. I think it's just the terminology. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a dad, but you have a bod of a dad. So a mom bod would not necessarily mean a pregnant woman. It would just mean somebody that is probably in their midlife stages, as most dad bods are usually men that are in their midlife stages. You don't normally have someone referred to having a dad bod that is younger. Like, even if they had physically a little bit more weight than some other people in their high school ages, they still, I don't think they just regard them as dad bods at that age, because they're still too young. It would just be weird to call them, yeah, you got a dad bod, like, and they're in high school. Or at least I think so. I'm not a high schooler nowadays, so I really don't know. But that's just my take on it. Lavjacat says, I do like Kaito. I love Gakupo more, but that is impossible to even find a good figure of. I think Gakupo, is that another Vocaloid? I think we talked about this at one point in time. I'm trying to remember. Let's see, what else? And yes, mom body is a thing. Okay, so if it's a thing, do they still call it mom bod? Because I've never heard the term before. So if mom bod is a thing, do you refer to it as a mom bod? Is it called mom bod? I think mom bod would be off-putting because it directly points to how a woman's body is changed from childbearing. I could see that, yes. I could definitely see that. That's why I didn't think that mom bod was a thing, because I feel like the term mom bod would just be more offensive than dad bod, because obviously we don't carry children as men, so we can't have the same physical adaptation period as women do, from going from one size to another because of the act of child rearing. We don't have that. I mean, we as men, we kind of gain weight at the same time, but that's probably because we're eating a lot more due to maybe emotional empathy, or just because maybe because okay, so I don't want to talk for other people, but when my wife was pregnant, she obviously ate more food than she usually does because she's eating for two. And sometimes she would order a lot of food, and sometimes she just can't finish it all. So, I would eat the rest. And even if a woman wasn't pregnant, I think in a relationship between man and woman, cis male and cis female, even between, female, female, or male, male, I think any couple, let's just say that any couple, the one that doesn't finish their food, the other one would finish said food. All right. So, I mean, I gained weight when my wife was pregnant too, but it's not the same. So I do believe that, as Cymex is right, that I think mom bod is a bit more offensive because it directly correlates to the adaptation or the child rearing changing of your body. Whereas for men, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that we're lazy and we don't exercise and we eat a lot of bad food. um, it's a different kind of context. Corey says, "Who wants a 6-pack when you can have a whole keg?" Exactly, Corey. What up top? Air 5, 100%, 100%. Barbie Witch says thick. Cymex says laughing face to Scruffy. Lapcha Cat says, "Well, in the resin side, there is a boom of more curvy dolls, but not like the pair. Have not seen many curvy guys, just superhero or clamp." Oh, speaking of which, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Dolgerie, the doll company that makes clothing for dolls and props, I think they have an actual pregnant belly that you can add to your smart dolls to make them look like they're pregnant. I believe they sell that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where am I now? Barbie Witch says, "I haven't seen a doll with love handles and dimples like Pear before. That was something new to me." Kitten Cat Shop says, "I think the difference is resin BGDs seem to be more marketed to women and vinyl anime towards men, so the vinyl girls have stayed to something geared more towards the male gaze." Yeah, because I think like there are both men in vinyl and in resin hobby. I've met a lot of men that collect resin dolls as well throughout my years. But there definitely is more men on the vinyl side than there is the resin side. It is also important to note that the majority of people that I've personally met, I'm not speaking about the entire world, just the majority of the people that I personally came in contact with that collected resin dolls, most of those men were not of cis female. They identified as cis male. They identified as something else. There were some cis males that did collect resin dolls, myself included eventually, because I want the Belle doll when it finally gets released in resin from Volks. I will be one of those cis males that has a resin. I currently do not. But there are plenty of males that collect resin, but I think a lot of the male collectors on the resin side that I personally have met tend to not be of cis male identification. Now, I have met throughout my years a lot of cis males in the vinyl hobby, so you're not wrong. I mean, that's pretty much spot on the nose, Anna. Barbie Witch says, "I've seen some of the newery BJDs that have tiny waists and big hips, tummies, and they're cute but pretty stylized." Are you talking about like things like Tiny Fox? I think Tiny Fox is kind of like that. Or are you talking about like Angelphilia? Because Angelphilia is kind of like that also. Kitten Chat Shop says, "Resin boys more to a female gaze." I think so too, because I've seen those resin boys out there. I know what you're talking about, like those Heaven's Blessing style dolls. The only doll that I think I have personally seen that I could say is more for men as a resin dolls is the one that I gave an example of, I think years ago, which is that one, what company? I think it's Grenado doll, and it was the samurai one, because I think that's made more for alpha male, like cis male type of thing, because not only was he big, he wasn't overly big and muscular. He was just big and muscular, but he also was very, very like, I don't know, like not, how do I say it? Like he looks not well kept is the right way, because he had a 5 o'clock shadow. He had messy hair. He had scars. I felt like that was something more akin to like a man's man, I guess you could say, more so than like a woman's type of male objectification fantasy, so to speak. Baruch says, don't forget the mommy makeover plastic surgery where you get a tummy tuck and butt lift and liposuction and like 20 other procedures at once. Well, I mean, that would be someone's personal discretion. Like if somebody wants to do that or undergo that, then that obviously that is their choice. But I wouldn't say like, the whole of mommies do that. Lavshikat says, when I have seen the term mom body, it is to celebrate the mature women bodies after kids and life. Like, ditch the beach bod, embrace your mom bod. That's awesome. That's actually a pretty cool saying. I like that saying. Ditch the beach bod, embrace your mom bod. I mean, because that could apply to any identification, really. I mean, it could apply to dudes too, because there's a certain point in your life as a male that like, or as like a cis male or a anatomically male, where you just, life just gets at you for everybody and you just don't have the time to exercise anymore. Like I'm someone that used to exercise a lot. I haven't exercised a day in like years. Ever since I failed out of the state troopers exam, I haven't exercised. I got so long story short, I tried to join the state troopers. I wanted to be a police officer. I took the test. When I say I took the test, I took the physical test, because that's the first thing you have to take. You have to take the physical test before you could take the written test. So I took the physical test and I failed. Not that I can't do it, because they tell you what the tests are ahead of time. You just got to practice for it. It's just that I fell, and because I fell, I couldn't finish the rest of the exam. So there's one exam where you have to do I forgot how long it was. I think it was a 200, was it a 200 foot or 300 foot sprint? I think it was. I forget how big, maybe 500 feet sprint. I don't know. I don't know. It was something. It was a sprint. Okay. You had to do a sprint. It had to be done in 13 seconds. You had to complete the sprint in 13 seconds, but it's not a straight line. It's like a zigzag. You had to do zigzags. You had to jump over things. You had to go around figure eights, and you had to get to the end. So I ran, I got to the end. There's one last turn before you get to the finish line. And when I was coming around that turn, my foot slipped and I fell. And when I fell, I screwed up my knee and my hands pretty bad, because I fell in a really wild way. And this is all on concrete. So I fell in a bad way where my second try, because you get 2 tries, I could barely run. Like it was just in too much pain. I tried to fight through it. I tried to run it, and I got props for trying, but still I couldn't complete. And you might be thinking at this point, well, you could just take the test again next time. Well, that was the last year I can, because there's an age limit. So the state troopers here in New Jersey has an age limit. You can no longer apply once you reach the age of 33. You can't apply anymore. So I was 33 years old when I took the test. So yeah. So after that, after me failing, I got a little depressed, because I trained for like a year and a half for that test. I got really depressed, and I stopped exercising, and I started eating everything I wanted, because I was on a very strict diet then too, like just plain white rice, not too many carbs, no sugars, no drinks, just water. Like it was a horrible time. But like after I failed, I got super depressed. I ate everything under the sun. I gained so much weight. Like I'm 5'5" on a good day, so I guess you could say 5'4". But like when I was working out, I weighed about 141 pounds, And that's 141 pounds of, like, I want to say, and I want to convince in my head, 141 pounds of muscle. Because prior to working out, obviously I was the same height, but I weighed 120 pounds. I was very skinny. So I packed on like 20 pounds of muscle weight. But when I failed and I couldn't take the exam anymore, I got super depressed. I ate all the chocolate I could find. I tried every brand of chips that I've always wanted to try. I ate at Burger King. Whopper was my friend. Spicy chicken sandwich was my friend. Oh, the buffets. Buffets were my friend. I ate at so many buffets. I went crazy. So, I ate like everything that I could. So now, because I don't exercise anymore, since the age of 33, I haven't exercised. I'm 43 years old now. It's 10 years since then. I haven't exercised a day in my life. I weigh a lot more than 141 pounds now. Now, I know some of you are like, 141 pounds, that's still so skinny. I'm not going to correct you. You're not wrong. But I definitely have a bigger belly for sure than I did when I was actively exercising. That much I can say. Let's see. Where did I leave off? PMB Soccer says Dolgery does have that pregnant belly. It snaps on, and they are amazing. I use them for commissions. I did, yeah. I've always was curious about that, but I didn't purchase one. Yeah, it's true, Barbie Witch. They do. If you go to Dolgery's website, they do have a pregnancy belly that you can attach onto your smart dolls. Kitten Cap Shop says Grenado is very realistic. If Grenado is very realistic, especially when it comes to your member, very realistic. Which, to be fair, it should be. To be fair, it should be, because God forbid the female dolls, some of them can be very, very, very realistic too. So, to be fair, the Grenado dolls should be just as realistic as, to be on the fair side. The super bod from them was like He-Man proportions. Yeah, that was those were crazy. Let's see. Barbie says, no, you need to exercise. You don't want atrophied noodle arms like me. I feel like that my arms are starting to be very atrophied. Like, my muscles are gone. Like, the little muscle that I had is gone. Like, you don't even see it anymore. Even if I try to flex, like, you barely see any of the muscle that was there. You know what's another sad realization? When I was actively exercising and working out, I used to be able to do barbell curls, like single curl, right? Like one arm curl, not two arms, one arm curl. At my height, which I know is not a lot, because I know muscle builders definitely curl way more weight. But for my stature and for my build, I was very happy. I was able to curl 45 pounds on one arm. Like, I could curl it. For me, that was great, because when I started working out, I could only curl 10 pounds. That was heavy for me. So at my height, at 45 pounds, I was very happy with myself. I was in Target not too long ago, like a couple weeks ago or whatever, and I was there with my son, and my son saw the weights. We were by the weight section, and he was like, oh, look, Dad, I'm super strong. And he picked up, like the 10-pound barbell. But it took all of his strength, right? Like, because my son's only 7. He's a very small kid. He took 2 hands to grab it, and he's like, oh, look how strong I am. Like, he's like picking up this thing. So I was like, oh, that's funny. And I, me being dad, I was trying to be funny and show off to my kid. And I saw the 45-pound barbell. And I went to go pick it up. And mind you, I can still pick it up. Like, I still lifted it off the shelf and I could hold it. But I couldn't curl it. I tried for the life of me to curl it, and I couldn't even get, like, if my arm was a full 180, like, it was just straight, I couldn't even lift it 20 degrees. Like, I was struggling. Like, you could see the sweat pouring. I was struggling to even lift it 20 degrees. It was so bad. That's how out of shape I am compared to what I used to be. Like, I couldn't even get it 20 degrees higher than what it was. That 45 pounds was so heavy, man. I felt I felt so small at that point. I was like, oh, I used to be able to do this. I could still do this. And then I tried and I could barely. Oh my god, it was a struggle indeed. For sure. Let's see. Lavjacat says, I know two cis male BJD collectors in real life. Both are middle aged, both having big, busted ladies, both dressing dolls in cat suits, but I still felt one guy was more perv than the other. It's not only about the lewdness, but also how are your morals? Why do you have lewd dolls? How are your personality? That's true. Like the example I gave of the stripper. Like if you were a female stripper and you wanted a doll to identify with yourself, so you made them look like you and dress like you, that's not really objectification then, is it? If at the very least that would be considered self objectification, but not objectification in the sense that, you're dehumanizing a person, so to speak. You're just doing a mini me version. In that very limited example, I think that should be acceptable, I suppose. But yeah, I don't understand it because I'm not of it, if that makes any sense. Like, I know plenty of male doll collectors that like to dress their dolls in ways that the layman would consider questionable, I guess, is the most politically correct way of saying it. And I'm not a fan of those type of things. I also think that I personally believe that if you should be, because you spent the money for that doll, you should be able to do whatever you want to that doll. And I know out of context that sounds terrible, but you paid the money for it. That's your doll. You should be allowed to do whatever you want with that doll. But I do have to say, even though you do have that freedom because it is yours, if you so chose, like if you were an individual that so chose to dress your doll in a very risque manner, and take it outside in public for all to see, I do feel that it sends a negative stereotype to layman people. Maybe not individuals that are in the hobby, maybe they'll see it differently, but people that don't collect dolls whatsoever, if they saw a middle-aged man with a doll dressed in a very lewd manner, and also these dolls, whether they're Dolphy Dream or Smart Doll, they are made in a sense that they have a super model type-ish body. So taking that into account and then putting like a triple X large bust and then making them wear very less clothing and then taking the doll out in public, to the layman, they would think that guy's a perv. To the doll collector, they might still think that guy's a perv. Who knows? I don't know. You should definitely be allowed to do whatever you want with your doll. You paid for it. It's yours. But I do think that there is some sense of responsibility attached to it when you take your hobby out for the public to see. And that's not just doll collecting. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying that just for the doll hobby. I'm saying that for anything. Like, we used to get a lot of negative connotations for being a car guy. Like I consider myself an ex-car guy because I don't do the car stuff anymore as much as I used to. I still keep up with it, but I don't do it anymore. But I remember getting mad because I was a law-abiding car guy. I would modify my car within the legal limits. I never did anything that was not allowed, really, so to speak. Like, if I had anything that was illegal, I never drove with it. It was mostly for show. Like when I take the cars to a show, I would add things onto the car specifically for the show because you can get away with it there. But then I would have to remove those items for when I drive the car in a legal environment. But that being said, there were a lot of people that get in their cars, put like illegal modification for their cars, and drive like, for lack of a better word, drive like a-holes all over public roads and endanger the lives of other people. That is a thing that exists, and that is a responsibility as a car guy to, educate your fellow car guys in a sense, educate that is an inappropriate behavior in our society that breaks laws. I feel that the same can be said in our doll hobby. Whether you're male or female, the way that you express your love for this hobby in a public setting could set could possibly set positive and or negative connotations towards your hobby to others. So if you're a doll collector and you're a normal, quote unquote, normal person, for lack of a better word, like, an upstanding citizen type of person, but you just so happen to like the style of something a little bit more lewd because you're a fashionista by trade. So you like to push the boundaries or the limits of fashion, and you're kind of edgy with your fashion, right? To the layman or to the person that's not a doll collector, that might be seen as, a negative thing. And that person will ingrain that in their memory because you're the very first person they saw like that, as first impressions, count a lot. First impressions are very important. That person might internalize that. And then, therefore, let's say someone like me comes along where my dolls are fully clothed and showing very little skin. They might see me and think that negative connotation and put that upon me, saying that, hey, I'm the pervert also. I am also a pervert or a lewd person. So, you see what I'm saying? Like even though you should be allowed to do whatever you want to do with your items that you purchased within your home, assalamu alaikum, do whatever you want. But once you go out into the public sphere, you are now, for whether you want to admit it or not, or whether or not you want that responsibility, once you take yourself and the hobby outside of your home into the public realm, you are now, in every sense of the word, a representative of our hobby. And if you do something that disrupts the quote unquote social order, or disrupts the social norm of what people perceive to be a hobbyist, then that negative confrontation might live on and might spread to other people, regardless if that was only one person doing it or the whole of the hobby doing it. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't know if I'm getting my point across, so to speak. Let me see. What are you guys saying in chat? Barbie Witch says, I thought cops were all former school bullies. You're too kind of a person to be a cop. You know what? A lot of people told me that when I was training to be a state trooper. A lot of people told me, you're too nice to be a state trooper. You don't have the assholey genes to be a state trooper, which is just wrong, because I know a lot of police officers and they're not dicks. Like, they're really nice people, actually. Everybody has their bad apples, okay? But you're not the first person that said that. A lot of people told me that I probably wasn't cut out to be a police officer, and maybe it's for the better that I failed and I didn't become one. But I did try at one point to be one. That was an aspiration of mine. Lobjicat says the lewdness, but also, oh wait, I read that part. Kitten Cat Shop says it's a hard line to draw, like photography. The line between tasteful nude and porn. That is so true. Logiccat says, yes, of course, it is your right, but some do sexualize it, and personally, I don't like that. That to me is to objectify. And that's how I take it too. I feel like if you over-sexualize the way you dress your doll, that's when it 100% is not a question. That is objectification, I feel like. But then again, what is over-sexualization, right? Because I know that there's a societal definition of what sexualization is, right? But in some sense, sexualization is also subjective, because what may be over-sexualized to one person may not be over-sexualized to another. For example, my grandfather would probably see Mirai dressed like this and think that is over-sexualization of a female form. But for us, this is rather tame. This is pretty tame, considering the different things that women can wear in society nowadays. This is kind of tame. But sexualization itself, like over-sexualizing a form, whether it's male or female, in itself can be subjective also. But there is a limit. Like, if you walk around naked, that's obviously That's obviously, there's no clothes. You can't argue that's not sexualization. You're not wearing any clothes, man. Like at some point there is a line at some point, but it's where you draw that line that's the hard part, is where the line gets drawn, and that part is subjective to everybody. Like we can try to imagine a set line that would be acceptable to the majority of society, but I don't think that line can really be acceptable for everybody, because that line will kind of vary. Tempest Strife says, if you dress an Angelophilia as a NASA scientist, is it still an object representative of objectification of a woman? I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because even though Angelophilia has a very curvy and sexualized body, don't hate me for saying that, if she's dressed like a NASA scientist, like my idea of NASA scientist is full pants, a dress shirt, a lab coat, glasses. That's what I think when I think of scientist, right? That's not really showing anything, like skin wise. And then also the bulkiness of the lab coat kind of takes away or kind of hides the curviness of the body, I would say. So in that respects, I want to say that's not objectifying. But again, I don't know if I'm wrong in that aspect, so which is why I think I'm getting canceled. Just I think I'm getting canceled. Barbie Witch says, there is someone in my sphere of influence who 100% dresses their dolls in a scandalous way and seems quite personable, just takes his ladies in sexy. And again, I think people should be allowed to do what they want with their dolls, but once you hit that public sphere, I don't know. I feel like you have a responsibility as a representative of our hobby. At least that's how I feel. Not everybody feels that way, and I get that. And I'm not saying I'm trying to impose a law that everybody has to follow within this doll community. That's just how I feel about it, and I could be 100% wrong in feeling it, but that's just my feeling. I feel like when you go outside of your house, you represent whatever it is that you show to others. So whether it's the doll hobby, whether you're a car guy, whether you're a sports guy, whether you're, a guy or girl rather, whether you're a fashion enthusiast, a sports enthusiast, once you leave your house and show what you like to the world, you have a responsibility as a representative of that hobby. So like I said with the car example, how about sports? If you're a sports fanatic and you go outside, go to a live event, you're tailgating, you're drinking a lot, you get mouthy, you're riding on the subway train home, and you start yelling at everybody, pushing people, sitting on people's lap, acting the fool, even though you're drunk at that point, and maybe you might not have full control of your body or your emotions because you're inebriated, you are still, if you're wearing a Giants jersey or a football jersey of your favorite team, you're representing all the fans of that genre and or team, because they're going to see you as this unruly, uncouth Giants fan. And then the next time they see someone that's maybe a little bit drunk and wearing a Giants jersey, that image is in their head, and they're going to think the same thing of that person. So that's why I feel like once you take your hobby outside of your home and bring it into the public sphere, you are now representing, whether you like it or not, you are representing that hobby and everybody that's associated with that hobby. Let's see. Where did I leave off now? Okay, Barbie Witch says, there is someone in... no, I read that one. Sorry. Tempest Strife says, I would say yes in the decisions that are made, in the decisions of making the base dolls. Objectification is baked in. So you think it is still objectification because the original idea of the body of Angelophilia is objectifying. Okay, I could see what you're saying about that, but from a layman standpoint, if you're not in the hobby and you don't know what an Angelphilia doll's body looks like, because you've never seen one before, but you do see a doll that is fully clothed and covered, and especially with that lab coat hiding some of those features, I don't think they would see that as objectifying. But because you and I know what the body looks like, I guess in that sense, yes, it's still objectifying, even no matter how you dress it, because you know what it looks like, I guess. If that makes any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense. Tempest Strife also says, objectification is the thought of a living being only being used as a sort of tool for a need. In this case, sexual needs, and visual objects like magazines and are used for their needs. But are we buying Angelphilia dolls for sexual needs, or are we buying Angelphilia dolls to fulfill a sense of fashion that we want to portray? So, for example, if we want to have a doll to fit a certain look, like a curvy body to fit, let's say a bodycon dress, but sleeveless and strapless, right? Like, just like that kind of dress. Would you say that it would look more, it would fit the doll, Angelphilia doll would fit that style of clothing more so than, let's say, a mini Dolphy Dream wearing something like that, right? So I guess it depends on why you bought the doll. Like, if you bought the doll for sexual reasons, then maybe. If you bought the doll for maybe to fit certain aspects of your fashion creativity because you want to make a certain type of a dress. But then again, what is the intention of the dress? Like, are you intending to make a dress for sexual purposes? Then therefore putting a doll with a more sexualized body on it doesn't help either way. So I see how there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of mix and match on ways you could do it depending on how you look at it and approach the subject. At least that's how I feel like it could be. What do you guys think? Anna says, for AP, it's certain faces and what those expressions are referring to. That is true too. Angelphilia dolls, their faces have certain expressions that you just can't, for lack of the better word, you can't make an excuse for that. Like, that face means exactly what you think it means. So yeah, that is true. Depending on the face you get, like, there's no way you can cover it up. Like, you can't get a certain face and be like, oh, she's making that face because she stubbed her toe. Like, no. No. that does not apply. Cymex says, I've seen on Twitter mostly, but I'll be scrolling through perfectly nice, sweet, even a little spicy doll pics and enjoying the scroll until bam, someone's posted an upskirt shot of a pantyless doll. I've seen those same posts. Oh my god, Cymex, I've seen those same posts. I'd be scrolling on my phone, just like you. I'm scrolling on my phone. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Oh, I love that dress. And I'll be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, look at the background on that. Like, that is awesome. And then I'll scroll and be like, yeah, let me keep scrolling. Oh, that's cute. Like I get the same thing, Cymex. Like, I'll get so many nice pictures and cute pictures and some a little risque, sure. And then I'll get to that one where I'm just like, oh, okay. Yeah, let me just keep scrolling. Let's keep scrolling. Anna says, not the body purse, more the combo of exaggerated features and the doll's expressions. Oh, I'm sorry. I said purse. I'm so dumb. Not the body per se. More the combo of exaggerated features and the doll's expressions. Yeah, I agree with that. I 100% I agree with that. Corey says, okay, I tried to stay out of this. Oh no, here we go, Corey. You know what? You don't have to try to stay out. I want to hear your thoughts, Corey. Let it loose, man. Okay, I've tried to stay out of this, but I have to ask. Why does a male having big busted dolls make them pervy? Would that make a woman who buys resin male dolls with attachments pervy? I think so, right? Like, I think, okay, so if you're a cis male collector and you purchase a regular edition Mirai, which comes standard with the default bust, which is considered the small bust, and you go and you purchase an additional triple X large bust for Mirai, and you put it on Mirai. I feel like that's a bit much, in my opinion. In my opinion, that's a bit much. Again, everybody has different tastes. It's all subjective, right? But it could be construed as pervy to the layman. Like they might say, look at that guy with the huge big breasted doll. They're just objectifying women and breasts, right? But on the flip side, it's the same. Like if you have a Grenado doll and it has a member attached, a male genitalia attached, and then you go and you purchase an extra male genitalia that is much larger than what it came with, then I think that is fair game that is also being pervy. Now, you could make the argument that smart dolls only come with one bust, and therefore you go that extra step to buy the larger bust, making you pervy. Whereas in the male doll, some of them, because they're mostly resin, some of them will come with a variation of parts standard, right? Where it would have a default member, right? But it would also come by default in the original pricing, in the original packaging, it'll have multiple male genitalia that you can switch in and out. Now, is the argument that you're saying that because they don't spend that extra money to get something more, is that being pervy? I think if you make the conscious decision to switch a member out for another member that is much larger, I think the act of doing so could be construed as pervy. But again, if you're self-identifying, right? And here's where it gets kind of weird. If you're self-identifying, and let's say you buy a Grenado doll, and it just so happens to be that I am a male bodybuilder by profession. If I just so happen to be a large male and I participate in the Mr. Olympia competition every year, and I just so happen to have a well-endowed, a very large member, and I bought a Grenado doll and switched the default member out and put a larger member in, that, in a sense, that's just me getting a mini-me, right? That's just me getting a doll that I can identify with. But if you, as a person, are not that, and you choose to portray that, even though that's not you, then you're not identifying anymore. You're projecting and or objectifying, depending on how you want to see it or phrase it. It could go either way, I guess. Lobjicat says, just thought this. I'm a huge fan of Asian... I love how you phrase this. It's just great. I'm a huge fan of Asian men. Japan, Korea, Thai, Chinese. FYP? For your pleasure is a lot of dancing guys. I don't know what FIP. I don't know what FYP is. But my FYP is a lot of dancing guys. That is objectifying Asian men. But if I would talk to a dancing Asian man, I would still... where I lost the, hold on. It auto scrolled me. Now I lost what you were saying. I would still, here we go, treat that man as a person. I would not gawk or scream or try to grab that person. Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. So it's like, I guess it's like saying, as a cis male, I go to a football game and I watch the Dallas cheerleaders dance and I enjoy them dancing, but I don't gawk at them. Like, I don't gawk at their appendages, for lack of a better word, and I treat them as human beings, then therefore it's not objectifying women? If I take your example, like, are you saying that is still objectifying or not objectifying? Because if you have fit dancing Asian men, but you don't gawk at them, but you treat them like people. So therefore, if I were to do it likewise, if I were to go to a Dallas Cowboy game, I'm not a fan of Dallas Cowboys, let me just say that. But if I were to go to a Dallas Cowboy game and I would look at the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders and enjoy the show, but not gawk at their parts, so to speak, and treat them like human beings, then am I not objectifying them? Is that like in a comparable what's the word? A comparable comparison? Is that a fair comparison? Is what I should say. Tempest Strife says the idea of objectification requires an audience, and an audience that thinks that there is a visual representation of a human that looks like it is sexually arousing when choices are made for it to look in a certain way. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, if you're 100% putting out a doll, dressing him in the risque with the intentions of them being risque, so that they 100% look risque, and you want everyone to see them as risque, then yes, that is objectification, 100%. But if you're dressing a doll in a way that you see, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. If you're dressing your doll in a way that you find is fashionable because you just that type of person, you're a fashionista, so you're trying to push the boundaries of fashion to start a new trend, but not necessarily doing it because you want them to be seen as objectifiably sexual in nature. But then again, fashion by its very definition is dressing something so that it would be attracting the gaze of whoever the audience may be, right? So in a way, that's also objectification, I guess. I mean, I think it could be, right? Barbie Witch says, I don't think having a ton of big kitty anime girl statues alone makes a guy pervy. I think the actions and attitude makes a guy pervy. Is the guy trashing women online instead of meeting them? Like, I guess you could say you have a cat fetish, like an anime cat girl fetish, which we already established prior that could be seen as objectification. Because you could be the most respectful. Let's put it this way, Barbie Witch. You could be the most respectful person to a person of that identifies as female, because I want to make sure I say this right, because you could see a female physically, and if they identify as male, then the example doesn't work, I guess. But let's say that you are the most prim and proper person that you can imagine in your head, right? Like, take a person that you think is the most stand-up person. They follow the rules, they're very respectable, they're honest, they don't seem to have any kind of like vile intentions whatsoever, right? Picture that person in your mind, okay? And I know this may be biased, so correct me if I'm wrong, but picture that person, whether it's a male or female, whoever you want to picture in your mind. Picture the most upstanding citizen, the most cordial person, the most honest person that you could think of. Picture that person in your mind. And that person invites you over to their home to, I don't know, like to have dinner, platonically, not in a sexual or romantic, but to just have dinner, hang out, play some Dungeons and Dragons or something, just platonically as friends, right? And when you get to their house, it's your first time in their house. You get to their house, and all they have is a wall full of half-naked anime cat girls. Would you see that person differently right off the bat? Like, I think you would, because it just catches you off guard. You didn't think that person that you've known all this time but never been to their house, and they've never talked about anime cat girls before, until you walked in that house. You never knew that aspect of their life. You walk into their home and you see that. I'm not saying you immediately judge them and then you say, I can't be your friend, and you just leave. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, doesn't that change your perception of that person immediately? Because it's jarring, right? You didn't expect it, you didn't think it, and you don't know how to feel at that point, right? So won't that in and of itself, maybe not objectification in a sexual manner per se, maybe that's not your first thing that you jump to, but it's still raises a flag, I would think, right? Not necessarily a red flag, but a flag nonetheless that makes you say, "Huh, I did not know this about this person." Okay, whatever. They can do whatever they want. Or you could say in your mind, this is not for me. I don't feel comfortable. And then you leave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really depends. I feel like it's skirting a line at that point. Anna says objectification isn't just sexual. I was thinking of those mammy dolls in the 50s. I don't know what a mammy is. I'm sorry. Tempest Drive says, for a dichotomy, this will not work in all cultures. Consider tribal cultures where nakedness is a normative way to spend your daily life in public. So if I dressed the doll, I saved archival images from a mandarake that included an internal chamber. As a NASA scientist, would it represent objectification? Okay, hold on. I need to really think about this one. You're posing a very thought-provoking question that I really have to think about. So so you're saying it won't work in all cultures because if the culture celebrates or the normalcy of the culture is nakedness in a daily aspect, if you dress a doll as an astronaut, would it represent objectification? Now, are you dressing the girl as an astronaut in that society of nakedness? Is that what you're saying? Or are you taking that person out of the nakedness society and putting them next to the scientists in NASA? That's my question. Like, is that what you're saying? So, like, because I think that would make more sense at that point. If you take the NASA person and you throw them into a nudist colony, then I don't think that's objectification. But if you take the nudist person from the nudist colony and put them in NASA headquarters, then I don't think that's objectification because that's not how they were raised to be. And because to them, in their mind, they're raised that nakedness is normal. So they're not going with the intentions of sexuality or anything of the sort. They're just showing up like it's a Tuesday. They're just like, hey guys, what's up? And then people are like, why don't you have any clothes on? And they're like, what do you mean? This is normal, right? And then they're like, no, it's not normal. So at that point, I don't think it's objectification. But again, from the layman standpoint, if you're just walking by seeing that, you think it's objectification. For you to say that that person that has normalcy of being naked, sitting in a NASA office, just walking by and seeing that, you would think that that person is being assaulted, or that person is because of our culture. We're thinking that person, that must be their boss and they're making them strip, like a Howard Weinstein situation, right? You're just like, oh my God, that poor woman, why is she naked? But until you talk to that person and until you find out their deets, like their story, like where they come from, like why they do the things they do, then maybe at that point it's not objectification because now you understand where they're coming from, which is what I try to put on this channel all the time. It's like, we need to talk about this thing so we can understand each other because we all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different geological places, different religions, different creeds, whatever you may have be. We come from all these different things that, you know, it can be misconstrued as objectification or racism or biasness if you do not understand where that person is coming from. So for that example, Tempest, I think that's how I would answer that. If that makes any sense. Again, I'm getting canceled in today's episode. I feel like I'm really pushing a boundary right now. I'm saying things that are just far off the wall and people are going to hate me right now. Okay, Barbie Witch says, I think, yes, the doll doesn't stop being that doll. Because see, I'm still hung up on the fact that we know the purpose of that doll. But again, the outsider looking in doesn't know that, right? So if that doll's naked, then they'll be like, yes, that's objectification. But if that doll's fully clothed to the point where you can't tell those features anymore, it just looks like a doll with clothing on, then the layman wouldn't know that. But because we as doll enthusiasts, we in our hobby, we know that, then it holds a different cultural understanding right? Within our culture of doll collecting, it holds a different understanding in our culture than it would for someone on the outside looking in. Tempest Strife says, what is the purpose of the labia majora being sculpted onto our dolls if they're covered by clothes 90% of the time? I ask myself the same question. Like when I get a new doll, a brand new doll, I always do the new doll smell, right? But it is undeniable that when you do the new doll smell, it just so happens that that ends up being in your face. Like, because if you start from point A to point B, from head to toe, you're eventually going to pass it at some point, right? And I've always wondered that if these dolls are supposed to be not of the sexual nature, like they're supposed to be there for, I don't know, to represent the female form or the male form, but in a non-sexualized way, why does the labia have to be sculpted onto the doll? I ask myself that all the time. Like, why can't it be flat like Barbie's? Like Barbie, like, I don't know if Barbie has changed, but I remember my sister's Barbie when I was a kid. Because for whatever reason, my sister's Barbies were always naked. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a thing with girls, but my sister's Barbies were always naked for some reason. And I remember that the crotch area was just flat. There was no curving or sculpting of any kind of like genital area whatsoever. And I always wondered why these dolls have that there. Most of the time, these dolls are dressed. And even if they're scantily dressed, they usually have panties on. Like, I never understood why that has to be there. I understand why the bust is there, because visually, whether you are a quote-unquote well-endowed woman or not so well-endowed woman, that area of your body is still more pronounced than, I would say, a male's body. Although I do understand there are some women out there that are just very flat, and I'm trying to say this in a way that's not offensive, but I don't know how to best do this. But I understand there are some women out there that are flat, but like in the dolls, I understand why there at least is a small bust. I don't know why there has to be a XXX bust, but I understand why there is a bust to differentiate. But in the bottom half area, whether it's a male doll or a female doll, it doesn't need to be sculpted, male or female. I don't think that area needs to be sculpted at all. And I don't know why it is. And I agree with you on that, Tempest. I don't understand why that's sculpted. Barbie Witch says, is there artistry? Arguably artistry of look at her face, which is exploitive classification of women as a sex object. Well, that is not in denial here. We are not denying that. That is 100. Those expressions of the angelphilia dolls, like the expressions on their face. I was talking more so the body, but the expressions of the face, that you can't explain. Like that face only means one thing. It's like I said before. If a woman stubs her toe, more than likely she is not going to make that face. There's going to be a completely different facial expression. She's not going to make an angelphilia facial expression. Like, that part you can't get around. Lobcat says, Corey, I would think so. My boys don't have special attachments. If I had one, I would not use it because those won't fit in any pants. But I would make pervy pictures as an LOL. Like, that's just... I'm sorry, and maybe I'm being the offensive one now, but the minute she said they won't fit in pants, it just made me think of all those jokes out there about male genitalia. Like, oh my god, like, I am biased against men. I have to say that I'm 100% biased against men. Like, it's like the whole thing, like with the Harvey Weinstein thing. Like, as a father of a daughter, like, I am, and even not as a father or daughter, I am absolutely appalled. I am appalled at the actions that Mr. Harvey Weinstein took, right? Like, to me, that is wildly inappropriate, and he should be thoroughly punished for that. And as a father, I would wring his neck, right? Like, you do not do that to a person, let alone a female. You don't do that to anybody, right? But it's funny because I heard a comedian once say the opposite. if there was a Harvina Weinstein, right? And she came to my son with a solid contract and said that, hey, pleasure me and you get to be Batman. I'd be like, dude, you're gonna be Batman. like I feel like that's me being incredibly biased towards men itself, because see, now I'm feeling biased towards men, because I feel for women. Like I understand. Like I'm just like, that is inappropriate. You should not treat women that way. But I 100% feel like you should definitely treat men that way. Like I feel like men deserve it. Like I don't know why I don't know why I feel that way. I just find it absolutely funny. Like I would never catcall a woman. Like that is inappropriate. You should not do that. But I would 100% catcall another man. Like I would do that. Like does anyone else find that funny? Like the way societal standards are like that? Like it is not acceptable to catcall a woman. You can't be like, "Hey, honey, look, shake that booty," or whatever. Like that is wildly inappropriate, right? but if a man was walking by, I would definitely see another man and be like, "Yo, man, shake that booty," and like that dude would shake his booty, and we would both laugh, and it would be funny. Like, isn't that crazy? Like it's double standard, right? Like that's a double standard, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of things that are wildly inappropriate for one side, but then is okay for the other. Like, and I know that's bad. But I just feel like men get the raw end of the deal sometimes, and it's even our own faults in those aspects of the thing. I just think it's funny. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe you guys don't think it's funny. Again, I'm getting canceled in this episode. I'm losing all my subscribers. Nobody wants to be here for this episode. This is bad. This is just really bad. This is getting really bad. Okay. Tempest says, wait, where I lost it. Oh my god, you guys are chatting so much. I'm missing so much text. Hold on, I need to catch up. Okay. Okay, where did I leave off? Okay, Tempest says, I neglected to buy the $4 accessory pack showing engorged appendages of various sizes for my Imomo doll 78cm boy, because I do not feel the need to represent him in a sexual nature. But since that option now exists for the doll, he is now part of a culture of objectification of the male figure via a doll. Well, that is true. I mean, and you are free to buy whatever appendages that you want. Like that is your own prerogative. That is your thing. Kitten Cat Shop says, I know of at least 2 accounts that feature those 1 silicone companion dolls that have 0 sexy images on their Instagram account. They wear cute outfits and hang out, but are all very PG. I've seen those accounts too. I think I know which one you're talking about. Tempest Rife says, companion dolls are sometimes purchased and the fully functional part added in, but it is an option to buy without the cavity. Oof. Yeah, I don't know anything about this topic that you're bringing up. Like, I know of it, I've heard of it, but I have no expertise in this. Kitten Capshot says, my Pasha Pasha is very detailed, but the artist is a woman who used to be a model, so she looks at them as models for photography. But even then, the models themselves, for the most part, they don't walk around naked. They may be scantily clothed with a lot of less clothing, but they're not fully naked. So why does the genitalia have to be so detailed? I think that's the thing that was kind of tripping me up, is that, okay, maybe they have like wider hips or like a larger bust or something like that, or long legs or something. But why does the genitalia have to be so detailed? Because that's usually, even with models that run on the runway, that's always covered. So why does that area have to be detailed? Tempest Strife says, and I think made by the same company, so part of the same culture, you may not objectify them, but they are part of a culture of objectifying the visage of women. That's true. That is true. If the culture or if the company creates those things with the intention of that, then, well, there's no other way you could say it. That is objectifying. But whether or not the buyer uses it for that intention, it may not be objectifying. But then again, why would the buyer buy said model? There are other models available. Why purchase that specific model? So that also raises that question. Barbie Witch says, I think noticing cheerleaders means you're not dead. Listen, I mean, my sister was a cheerleader. I did not look at her in that way. So, I mean, like, it just depends on the person. Some people can just be really pervy, and some people just not. Like, and not, on that same note, there are male cheerleaders as well. And those male cheerleaders are not in it to be pervy. They're in it for the competition. And some of them are cis male, some of them identify other than the cis male, but they're not there for that reason, or at least, God, I hope they're not. Barbie Witch, I think that's different. Are you thinking about them enough to buy posters and putting them on the wall to go meet them? Well, you can't meet them if they're anime, but I understand what you're saying. Like, if you're doing, like, let's say a bunch of Scarlett Johansson half-naked pictures on your wall, or scantily clad pictures that you found of Scarlett Johansson, that would be definitely questionable for sure. But anime girls, like, because you can't physically meet them, does it make it any better? I don't know. Tempest Strife says, I noticed the cheerleaders look like babies/children, way young, and I feel ancient. I think that's just with age, Becca, because I say that to my wife all the time. When I was a young lad and I looked at football players, I used to say, that's a man. That is a big man. That is a man, okay? Now, for the age of 43, I watched the NFL draft, and I look at that, I'm like, that's a baby. That's not a man. That is a very large baby. Like I see things differently now that I'm older. Like, I see this guy, he's like 19 years old, 20 years old. He just got drafted. He's going to make $19 million playing football. Like, and he's a child. Like, I see a child, but when I was a child, I saw a man. So I think it depends where you're coming from and what age you are. So, cheerleaders nowadays, you're right. To me, they look like babies. Like, they don't look like women. They look like children to me, because I'm already at a certain point in my age, and I have young children myself, where it's just like, these are all kids to me. Like, if that makes any sense. I notice my tastes have changed as growing up as a man. Like, even though I'm married, I mean, you could still say that things to you are objectively attractive. Not that I would act upon those feelings or whatever. It's just that, same thing for my wife. I mean, my wife can say that is a handsome man. I can say that is a beautiful woman with no intentions of doing anything. And so I noticed that what I used to regard as a beautiful woman, not to say that young people aren't beautiful, but it's just I see things differently. Now, when I see when I was a kid, I saw a 20-year-old, I was like, that's a hot babe. That is like celebrity status, like whatever, right? Like, that's what I would think when I was like 10. But now that I'm older and I'm a father, if I saw that same 20-year-old, I'm like, that's someone's child. That's a kid. That is not a woman. Like, now to me, a woman is someone that has a full-time job or has kids and is a full-time mom. Like, someone that's seen some stuff, like they've been through it just like I have. You know what I mean? They've seen some stuff. Like, they're like, anyone that hasn't seen stuff in their life and been through stuff, that's a child to me now. So it really depends on your age and what you've been through. Like, you see things differently when you get older. Barbie Witch says, I think that starts to cross the line into objectification. Oh, when you're talking about, like, buying the posters and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm reading things out of order because I'm trying to catch up. You guys are typing a lot tonight. Tempest says, TLDR, you might not objectify an anime doll, but they are part of a culture objectifying the female visage. No, I think you said that before about another topic we previously talked about, and you are right about that. Like, the creators may have the intention of that, but I guess it depends on how you use it. Even though the intention is there, like, I don't know. Like, again, it depends on your system of beliefs, right? So let's say because I know there's a lot of different people out there, right? But let's say you're one of those individuals that believe that God exists. Like, I know that there's all different kinds of religions. There's like Scientologists, and there's like atheists and all these other things, right? But let's say you're one of those people that believe that God exists, right? Like, if God created a woman with exaggerated features, like exaggerated hips and large bust, and still for whatever reason such a thin waist and whatnot, did God intend her to be pervy? Even though she tries to dress conservative because she doesn't like people looking at her like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would you see someone and say the creator, as in God, intended for her to be pervy, so therefore she should be sexualized? You know what I mean? Like, if the creator intended it for that, but the user doesn't intend it for that, like, does that change things? Like, that's why it's a very slippery slope, because I feel like all these things, all these beliefs that we feel, if you look at it from another angle, it could quite possibly be not that also. And it heavily relies upon and on your system of beliefs as a person, like as in Becca's beliefs, as in Shizu-san's beliefs, as in Corey's beliefs. We all have different beliefs and outlooks on life, and what we believe to be okay or not okay varies by person to person. Now, some of us might agree, and we might be in the same boat, so to speak, where it's like, oh, you agree that too? Me too. Like, you know, you might be in the same boat, but not everybody believes that. So while, yes, if the creator intended it to be a sexualized nature, then therefore it is a sexualized object. But then if the user doesn't treat it like that, see, I feel like it gets trippy, right? Like, it can be this, yes, and it can be that, yes, I feel like. And I don't want to be that person that pigeonholes everything into one thing and say that's definitely that, so it has to be that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I want to look at it from all different angles before I make any kind of decision or judgment. So I just feel like, yes, I get what you're saying, but there could be other ways to look at it. And maybe that's just me making excuses for, you know, all different types of people. Maybe that's me just being politically, you know, like, not trying to pick a side. And it's not like I'm not trying to pick a side or I need to pick a side. It's more so like I want to look at it from all sides and make the best possible decision I can by looking at it from all different angles. So I don't know, it can go different ways, but I definitely understand your point and what you're trying to get across, and I in some ways agree with you. But looking at it in another way, I'm just like, well, it could also be this way and not have any sexual connotation behind it as well. And like I said before, but then again, it strikes the additional question, but then with all the choices out there, why pick that particular company and body? You know what I mean? Like, there's always choices upon questions that you could do. And it just really depends on how far into the deep dive you want to go. Or at least that's the way I feel. Let's see. PMB Sakura says, slippery slope, one can appreciate art. Anime girl statues in a way are art. And that is true. It is a form of art. It is a form of expression. That is 100% true. Barbie Witch, kitty was a typo for a word beginning with the T that sometimes rhyme with kitty. Barbie Witch, stop trying to make me say things on live, like video. I feel like you're trying to get me to say something I don't want to say. I never said I was a hero. I know. You did say it. You did say in the beginning. Tempest Strife says, and sexual objects can be art, but it's hard, especially for static art, since they are stuck in one pose. Dolls are able to change their look and demeanor. That is true too. You could definitely pose your doll in a non-risque way, and you could definitely pose your doll in a very risque way. So that is true. That alone can set different tones also. You can still have a fully clothed doll, but if you pose them, I don't know, half bent over, then, you know, that has a different connotation no matter how fully clothed they are. So yes, that is true too. Tempest Drive says, has anyone here been to the Museum of Sex in New York City? My wife wants to go. I'm scared to go. Like, because I don't know what I'm going to see. And I don't know if I want to see what I'm going to see, so to speak. But my wife has asked me a couple times to go. She actually wants to see it. I can't bring myself to go. Cause some things you just can't unsee. Like, I don't know if you've been to it, Becca, but there is a museum. I think it's a traveling museum because I don't think it's up all the time, and I think it's up in different cities. But there's a thing called the Body Museum or something like that, where it explores the human body anatomically. Like, it just shows you all these different kinds of naked bodies, and then it shows you the naked bodies without skin so you could see the musculature, and then it shows the skeleton with muscles around it so you could see how the musculature works. It's like, it's a body science museum, and even though there's no sexual connotation behind that, and not that I felt any kind of sexually aroused from it, but what I'm saying is there are some things in that museum that I saw that I just can't unsee. Like, I didn't need to see it, I didn't want to see it, and now that I've seen it, it like lives rent free in my head and I can't get rid of it. It's just stuck there. And I feel like the same way with the sex museum. I feel like if I go in there, there might be something in there that I see that I can never unsee, and it's just gonna haunt me. And like, I don't want to throw myself into that predicament. Like, I don't want to go. Barbie Witch says, I have been to this house. LOL. the house with the cat, right? Like the anime cat girls. I went there about 20 years ago. 20 years ago is a long time ago. Do you still go there, Barbie Witch? That's the question. Anna says, LOL, you never want to see the TV room full of figures. Most are comic book heroes. She-Hulk. You never want. Oh my god. Are you I'm not even right now. Okay, Corey says, Tempest, we could have another 4.5-hour stream on this topic alone. We can, and we are already at almost 2.5 hours for today's episode. Just saying, we need to wrap it up because this can be very long. Let me, we already know this, a definition of objectification. Let me just change it because we all have seen it by now. Let me just change it so we can all see the chat bigger. Cat says, I would ask that person about the cat girls, but then again, I had leather whips on my wall when I was in my 20s. No, I still have whips on the wall in full view. Oh, so you don't have them anymore. Okay. Because, yeah, well, we all go through phases in our lives as we grow as people. I mean, I at one point in my life had, and this is nothing bad, this is nothing pervy, but at one point in my life, I used to have the Filipino flag hanging on my wall, along with other Asian paraphernalia. Like, I had samurai swords on my wall, you know, I had like anime statues on my wall, like a whole bunch of basically a lot of Asian things, right? Let's put it that way. Asian / South Pacific Islander things. I don't do that anymore. It's not that I don't like samurai swords. It's not that I'm not happy to be a Pacific Islander. It's not that I don't like anime anymore. It's just that when you grow up, you have different tastes, different things that you like, and that's just something I don't want hanging on the wall anymore in my home. I have it in my office. As you can see, I have Asuna behind me, but in my, I guess you could say, my regular living space, like in my living room, my hallway, my kitchen, my bedroom, I don't have any of that stuff. Whereas when I was in my 20s, I had it everywhere. It was literally everywhere. So, like, you know, your attitude, your likes and dislikes change as you get older. PNB Sakura, good night. I just got a phone call, have to run out. I'll watch the rest later. This is an interesting. Okay, PNB Sakura, I'll see you. Take care. Be safe. All right, I'll see you later. Kitten Cat Shop says, yes, someone called our room the booby basement, but if they had looked, none were in poses that showed anything but strength, and are of characters that are heroes, i.e., She-Hulk and Spider-Gwen. Okay, here, you guys can judge me. I will give you my own example. In my display case, what I have right now is a statue of Black Canary from DC Comics. Now, it is not a normal statue of Black Canary. One would even go as far to say that it is a sexualized statue of Black Canary. I think it's tasteful art, but I can understand it when people say it's a little sketch. Like, I can understand where they're coming from. So my example that I'm giving, right, my own personal example, is that I have a statue of Black Canary. It is a specific version of her, which is called the Bombshell Edition. Now, you can understand that by the word bombshell, it usually has a connotation of some kind of sexual, some kind of sexual nature. Please, excuse me, burped on stream. It has some kind of connotation of a sexual nature, right? Just the word bombshell alone. But what it actually is a picture of, it's a statue of Black Canary featured like one of the models on the nose of a bomb fighter back in World War II. These were called pinup dolls. Now, I know I don't have to explain it to some of you in chat, but you never know who's watching this stream. The people might be watching this that have no idea what those are. So I just want to make sure this is clear. A pinup doll is or pinup girl is an old 50s version or painting of women that back in those days, and even till today's standard, could be seen as scantily clad, but also, I guess you could say, could be seen as artistic in art. I personally see it as attractively tasteful. I think it's tasteful art. It's not too sexy. It's not too over sexualized. I think it's tasteful. And I don't have it with me right now, but if you Google Black Canary bombshell figure, you can see it. Essentially what it is Black Canary's posed on a stage, right, with a microphone. And I guess she's kind of imitating like Marilyn Monroe in some sense, where she has a microphone that she's singing into it, and she's wearing a button-up top that is unbuttoned on the top to reveal some of her cleavage, and you could see some of the bra sticking out. It's also tied like I don't know what you call it. Like the bottom of the shirt is tied like cowboy girl styled tie crop top kind of thing, with a black pencil skirt and fishnet stockings and boots. And and her makeup and her hairstyle is done in a very 50s styled manner. Now, I think it's tasteful art. I think it is sexy, but in a tasteful way, not in a lewd way, not in an overly sexualized way, even though it is a sexualized figure, so to speak. But I think it's tasteful. And I want to make that clear, because like I'm trying to make a distinction here that I'm not trying to be pervy, and I don't collect it for pervy reasons. I just think that the artistry of pinup girls is cool. I think they look really cool. I think they're sexy, but in a good way. But if we are to remember, in the 50s, that version of art was considered very risque, borderline, I guess you could say, pornography in the 50s. In today's standards, it's still considered kind of risque, but I don't think it would be considered porn unless you're talking about those nose girls that are definitely not wearing any clothes at all, because those do exist too. But I'm thinking like, the girls that are fully clothed. Like I think it's, in today's standard, it's art. And I think it's even, pinup girls are even featured in museums, I think, in art museums, as a form of art of the time period. But yeah, I think, it really depends on the person and how you look at it. But I wouldn't judge Corey. I want to see this basement. I think it would be tasteful. Oh my God, there's so much chat. I'm trying to catch up, guys. Cat cows, welcome to the stream, cat cows. They say, I don't know for realism is what I thought. It's female. Why can't it look like it? I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm reading this out of context, because I'm trying to catch up with your messages. But are you talking about the female genitalia on dolls? Like, why is it sculpted that way? I don't think it's needed. Even if it's for realism, like I don't really know why it's needed because you don't really see that part. Uh, or I would assume that most of your collection, if you have a collection of female dolls, that most of the time they're clothed. I just assume that they're not like sitting naked in your display cases or something like that. But yeah, I mean, even if you're going for realism, like I just didn't understand it. Male or female dolls, I don't understand why it needs to be there. But then that might be my own personal preference and upbringing, like my taste of things. Cymex says, now I have to go look at my dolls. They always have their panties on, so I haven't noticed their nether region. Cat Cow says, my dolls go commando all the time. Oh, you just answered my question. Okay, so they go commando all the time. Okay. Well, I mean, we had this discussion a couple episodes ago too. They are dolls. They don't necessarily need to wear underwear because they're not people. We as people wear underwear for hygienic reasons, because we don't walk out in the streets in our underwear. So I think it's purely for hygienic reasons, but okay, again, because they're dolls, they don't really need them. I just put underwear on my dolls, or at least I make them fully clothed even though they're commando, because that's my personal preference. Like I like them to be clothed. Kitten Cat Shop says, it's a difference in threat level, a power dynamic. Barbie Witch says, I've catcalled men on bikes in the past. I'm not proud. I'm just saying, I think it's okay to catcall men. That's all I think. It's definitely not okay for women. I think it's okay for men, but maybe that's just me saying it because I'm a man. I don't know. But Anna says, a man you as a male catcall is not afraid you are going to attack. Why we chose the bear. But you know what? If a woman catcalls a man, I don't think the man's going to attack her either. Right? And I don't think the woman is going to attack the man either. But vice versa, if a man catcalls a woman, I could definitely see a man sexually attacking a woman because that's happened before. But I personally haven't seen a woman attack a man in that manner. Christina Kowald, welcome to the stream, Christina. I hope everyone is well and enjoying the day. Cat Cow says, why not? Well, I don't know. I don't know why not. I'm not saying that you can't have genitalia realistically sculpt. I just don't think it's necessary. But I'm only one man with one opinion. I don't represent everyone and I don't represent the world. I just personally, I don't think it's necessary. But if a doll company were to release, like if Smart Doll were to release the genitalia as very really sculpted, I don't think it would deter me from buying Smart Dolls. But I would still think it's unnecessary. I would still buy Smart Dolls. But I'm not buying Smart Dolls because the genitalia is realistically sculpted. That's not the reason. I buy them because of these cute faces. But it's not that reason. But, I'm not saying they shouldn't make dolls realistically sculpted. I'm just saying on my personal level, I personally don't buy it for that reason. So therefore, I don't think it's necessary. But I am not imposing my ideas onto other people. I'm not saying that because I don't like it, you shouldn't have it. If that's something that interests you and something that you like, you should definitely be allowed to purchase said object and enjoy said object as long as it's not hurting anybody. And in this sense, I don't think it is. Like, you buying that has no hurt to me whatsoever. It's not doing anything to my life or my personal well-being. So if you like those things, Assalamu alaikum, you should definitely be able to have it and own it and use it in any which way form you see fit in your own private time. Like, it doesn't affect me whatsoever. So, I mean, I just don't personally, I'm not interested in it. So I don't buy it for that specific reason. Logicot says, personally, I don't mind having my boys with their man parts. They are standard size. It don't bother me. None of my Swedish friends mind either because nudity is more normalized here. That's another thing. See, culturally, nudity is looked at differently. I think as an American, I would say that at least from my upbringing where I live as a cis male in my culture, I guess you could say, grown up here in the East Coast, nakedness is not a thing that we are comfortable with. Like, if someone is half naked or almost naked or just totally naked in town, people will talk and people will gawk and or yell or try to cover them up or even get arrested because that's not a thing that's allowed here. I'm not saying it's allowed in other countries, but what I am saying is one thing I did realize is that when I went to Japan for the first time, they had public bathhouses, and nakedness is okay there. Like, nakedness is okay here in the United States too. Like, if you go to the gym and you take a shower in the gym and you're in the locker room changing, you're naked there. Nobody cares, right? Like, because that's what you do there and things like that. But the idea of bathing together, all together, like no stalls or anything like that, just all together, lying down in the same tub together, like that's not a thing that most people here in the United States are used to or comfortable with. The only people that I know of that are comfortable with that are usually people that grew up playing sports because it became more normalized to you. Like seeing another person's naked body of your same anatomical gender is normal for you as a sports person, because when you play sports, there's always the locker room and the shower room. So you get undressed in the locker room, put on your equipment or your clothing, and then you go out to play. And then after you come back, you take off all your clothes and you take a shower, or you bathe, and then you get dressed. So nakedness is kind of more normal to those individuals that are used to it because they're always around it. But for those of us that don't play sports, we don't normally see another naked body a lot. I noticed that it's that in other countries the naked body is viewed differently because of the way your culture is. So with the Japanese people, because they're always used to bathing in a public sphere, seeing a man seeing another man's naked body is no big deal. But as foreigners, like when I went to Japan to go to the bathhouse, even though I played sports, I didn't really like play it that much where I got, I guess, normalized to the idea of it, I suppose. But like when I went over there, I did do that thing where I covered up my junk walking around. Like I felt a little uncomfortable because I'm just not used to walking around everybody naked, but I eventually got warmed up to it, so to speak, like, and I got okay used to it. But like, it's just not something that we're used to here in the States, or at least from what I understand it to be. Let me see. Logic also says, still would not want a doll with extreme sculpted genitalia. Why would I want that? Some people do. I don't know why, but some people do. Christina Kowal says, have you seen the black tape model, which only have black tape on their body, no clothes on at all, so it's beautiful body. I know what you're talking about. I've seen that before, and that's a form of art, and I don't know if the intention of that art form is in a sexual nature or if they're just trying to explore I guess you could say, the beauty of the female form without revealing genitalia. Maybe the idea behind it, but again, that's too much for my brain to handle, because no matter what you do, whether it's fashion, whether it's dolls, whether it's the car group, whether it's comic books, those that are within that community, they see things differently. So from a fashion person's point of view, that might be tasteful, that may be artistic and creative, but from a layman standpoint, if you're not part of that community and you don't understand the reasoning behind those, you might just think that that person is just a very pervy person because you don't understand where they're coming from. You don't know the thing behind it, the reason behind it. There might be a very good reason why they're in black tape. I don't know why they're in black tape because I don't follow that scene. Like, I don't know the explanation for it, and there might be a good reason for it. Ken Copshot says, Americans are historically more prudish regarding nudity. In college, we had a nude assignment. I did mail nudes, however, no genitalia. 20-something classmates were uncomfortable with the series. I've heard of those classes. I don't know if they still exist, though. Cat Cow says, at Logicat, that's good. We all have preferences. Someone might want that. And that's true. We all do have preferences, and I did state this before. Some people may be into that type of thing. I just personally am not into it, but if you're into it, you should be allowed to do whatever it is that you're into, as long, at least in my opinion, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, I think it should be fine. Let's see. Kitten Cat Shop 20-year-olds. I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Cat Cow says, some sage once told me that beliefs were the playthings of children. I'm not going to get into a philosophical debate with you, but I think that can be taken in many different ways. And in some ways that can be taken as a very good thing, and in some ways that can be taken in as a bad thing. So I really think that no matter what we talk about today, whatever topic that we mention in today's episode, I think that it can always be seen in a different light. Nothing that is said today can be seen as only one thing, unless it's so egregiously definitive. Like if you shot and killed somebody, I don't think there's any way you can really say that happened. Oh, well, he tripped and pulled the trigger, and then the guy in front of him that got shot, or you know what I mean? Like, it has to be something so incredibly definitive that there's no question as to what that is. But I think most of what we're talking about today in objectification, it can be very, very gray area, depending on how old you are, your cultural background, your geographical background, your religious background, your identification. Like, today's topic, everything we say today, is none of it, I think, is set in stone. I think a lot of this is very gray area and can be seen through many different lenses. There is no real wrong or right answer, I believe, for this. And that's the whole point of today's episode. That is like the nitty-gritty of the point of today's episode, is that objectification, while there is a set standard definition as stated by Wikipedia, which I do have here, right? This standard definition, even though there is a quote-unquote standard definition, I think it's a very gray area, and it can be seen in many different lights, in many different aspects. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to it, depending on who you are and where you're from. And that's the world that we live in now. We don't live in our so-and-so square mile world anymore. It's not like the 1800s where it's like everybody in, Italy only knows Italy. You know what I mean? Like, we live in an international society now. The internet and airplanes had made our ability to see so many different things readily at our fingertips. And I think it's very hard nowadays for people to cope with that and try to understand that, because there's so many different views out there. And so many people trying to fight for this particular view is right or that particular view is wrong, when in reality, it may neither be right or wrong. It's different. It's just different. And we have to understand those differences, and we have to be able to accept those differences, I think, within a reasonable tolerance, I would say. Like, I don't want to pigeonhole things into just black or white, because I don't think it is as simple as life is not as simple as black or white. Let's see. King Kasha, King Kasha says Evidon versus Maltharop kind of thing. I think those are doll companies, right? Logicat says, yeah, sure, no one wanted it there, but would not be made. I just don't see the use of it. And that's your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion and your own beliefs. As long as we don't force them upon other people, you're entitled to believe what you want. Cat Cow says, my DD is rocking an AR. Now she's an object of aggression. Yeah, I've seen that too. Like, I have weapons for my dolls. Like, I bought swords. I purchased firearms for my dolls, like 1/3 scale ones. I think it's cool. A lot of people don't. Just as much as some people think large-breasted dolls are cool, some people don't. So it's just a difference of what you like, and what you like is fine. Just understand that what you like might not be for everyone. And as long as you don't try to assert your likes onto another person, then it should be okay. But then you also have that other aspect that you as an individual, you're, as much as you want to be an individual, you kind of aren't at the same time, because you still represent something. Whether that is, as me as an American, if I travel abroad, in some ways, I represent an American person. If somebody sees me do something wrong, they're going to have that connotation in their head, like all Americans do this. Or same thing with doll collectors. If one doll collector does something that is seen by somebody that doesn't understand it or doesn't like it, and they put it on blast all over the internet, that sends a message to everybody that all doll people are like that. So like it's really hard to balance that line of what you like and what is socially responsible, I guess you could say, is the right word. I don't even know if that's the right word, but hopefully you guys understand my point that I'm trying to make with that. Logicat says, my DD is dressed in cute kawaii stuffs and hot pants. And Cat Cow says, true, it's not functional, so is kind of useless. Nothing from there haunted me, in my opinion. Oh, we're talking about the museum. Nothing there haunted you? I mean, like, you know, and that's you. You're more strong-willed than me. I saw some things in there that I was just not comfortable with. Logicat says, no, I still have whips on my wall and an axe, swords, and anime figures. Oh, well then I guess, you know, you still like the things that you still like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that my likes have changed. Well, not my likes have changed. I still like the same things. It's just how I expressed it has changed. Let's put it that way. Corey says, show me the Black Canary. I'll send you a picture, Corey. Tempest Strife says, I like the ones inspired by Wings and plain art. Yeah, I like those too. Like the pinup girls that are on Wings and plain art. I really like those. Where did I leave off? Oh no, I lost it. Where did I go? Okay, here we go. I caught up. Corey says, that was a whole series. I have the comics. Most of the DC Universe females were represented in an alternate World War II era storyline. Yes, I have Black Canary. I had the Catwoman bombshell version. And I was trying to get my hands on the Supergirl version. But around that time is when I discovered Smart Dolls. So I stopped buying them. And my Catwoman, I needed money to buy a Smart Doll, so I sold my Catwoman. I still have the Black Canary, though, because that's my favorite one. Anna says, true fact, a lot of the nose art was based on their sweethearts, girlfriends, or wives. Yeah, I know. I know. That is definitely an interesting fact that I didn't know until I watched the documentary about World War II planes. I thought that was very interesting. Corey says, did you get the color or sepia tone version? Tone one. I got the regular color one. I didn't get a sepia tone version. Anna says, some pinup artists were women. Yeah, that's true. Simon says, I don't think the Black Canary is risque. Sexy, yes, but in a tasteful way. Thank you. I thought that too. Tempest says, why is being pervy / horny bad, if not actually objectifying or harming a live-in woman directly? Good question. I don't think it is bad all the time. It just depends on how you express it, I guess. Like if you have a risque dressed doll and you're just like, yeah, I think she looks fashionable, she looks cute, she looks sexy, you know, I think that can be construed in a way where it's tasteful. But if you take same doll, same outfit, and you go and you say something to like, hey, how do you like my doll? Her tits look great in this outfit, right? Then that is pervy. That is objectifying. Like if you say it like that, then that is where you draw the line and you're like, whoa, now. That is being pervy. That is being objectifying. But I guess if you say it in a way where, you know, you're like, well, I think she looks really tasteful in this. She looks sexy, but not too sexy, not too risque, but you know, it looks nice and it goes with the outfit, it goes with the scenery, it goes with the theme, like, you know what I mean? Then that can be tasteful and sexy at the same time. But it depends on how you pitch it or how you introduce it to other people. That can drastically change it, I believe, also. Cat Cow agrees. Barbie Witch says, I am back from rescuing a traffic cone off of my car windshield. City living, I tell you. Oh my goodness. Cat Cow says, it is interesting to hear what other people think and reasons for what they do. It is. And that's kind of why I do what I do on this channel. Like, I do these hot button topics because I want everybody to have a voice and express their feelings and we can discuss it. That's the only way we can learn and grow as a people is to learn about each other. Gotta grow together. Gotta grow as a community. Logicat says, you don't have public bathhouses. You didn't have sports in school. What? No, we don't have public bathhouses. We have sports, though, and we have gyms that do have public baths in them. But the Japanese people, they have public baths just for regular bathing, everyday, day-to-day bathing. Here in the States, everyday day-to-day bathing is done at home in the convenience of your home. Even if you live in an apartment, it's still in your home. Even if you live in one of those communal apartments where there's share bathrooms, each bathroom has a stall. But in Japan, like at least from my experience when I went there, the bathhouse that I went to, there are no stalls. Everybody's just no one's hidden. Everybody's just in front of everybody naked bathing. Like the showers were on the wall, and there's no walls separating each person. And when you bathe, when you sit in the bath, you're all naked together. Like over here in the States, even if you play sports, most of the time the gyms nowadays have separate stalls where you don't see each other naked. You see each other naked walking to the stall, but you don't watch the other person bathing naked because there's walls and stuff. But when I was in Japan, there was no walls. Everybody's just there. Everybody can just see everything. And I think and that's just normal bathhouse. That has nothing associated with sports. Most of the time when we do that here in America, at least from my understanding here on the East Coast, whenever you have public bathing, it's usually from sports because you're in a locker room, or it's usually from a gym. Like if you go to a gym to work out and exercise, there's a public bathing area where everybody bathes together kind of thing. Well, gender by gender. And it's really hard to differentiate because now that we have gender identification, some people say that, certain people aren't allowed in certain bathrooms, but that's a whole different topic I do not want to tackle. But what I'm trying to say is that we don't normally have nudity here on the East Coast of the United States. I don't know how it is anywhere else in the United States, but at least from where I personally live right now, we don't normally bathe together in public bathhouses. We just bathe in our own homes, in our own private baths. I guess that sounds very privileged. Or if we bathe with other people, it's usually in a locker room of some sort from either sports events or the gym. Kitten Couch Anna says, my allergy meds are wearing off. Trees having sex. LOL. Need to log off. Good night. Good night, Anna. Have a good night. I know you probably said that a long time ago, but if you're watching this later in the VODs, good night. Sorry I'm keeping you up late. Corey says, I gotta go too. We have to get up and take some pets and people rudely on a cruise. Have a good night, Corey. Have fun. Be safe. Barbara says, get a good sleep for the rude cruise. Logicat says, I think the genital tools and boobs on our dolls are a way to make a stand to say that they are not just toys, but adult works of art. I could see that point of view. I guess to differentiate the collector sphere between children and adults, I guess. In that respect, that makes sense. Barbie Witch says, oh no, I read that already. Cymex says, night all, I'm heading off to great discussion. Good night, Cymex. I know you already left, but if you watch this later on the VODs. Cat Cow says, it's hard to think that we are all individuals and different yet the same. We all suffer and struggle to finally just end. Yeah, no, that's true. Like, the overall objective is that even though we have different backgrounds, identities, geographical, societal, economically, religiously, we have all these different things that make us different and unique. But in general, we are all human beings. Like, what's the famous saying? If you prick me, do I not bleed? Like, we're all human beings. And notice that in movies, and I know this might not be the best example, but in movies, there's a lot of movies where we fight each other, whether it's one country fighting another, one organization fighting another. But the only time where worldwide people get together to fight a common cause is an alien invasion. The only time the human race gets together and works together as a whole, right? Like, gender doesn't matter. Country borders don't matter. Identification doesn't matter. Nothing matters when the entire human species is on the brink of extinction due to an alien invasion. That is the only time we as human beings come together as one. And it's not even real. It's not even a real event because as far as we know, aliens don't exist yet. We haven't discovered them yet, at least. If they don't exist, they don't exist. But if they do exist, we haven't met them yet. We haven't discovered them yet. So, you know, it's 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 yeah, it's just crazy. It's a crazy world that we live in, and we do our best to get through it. Cat Cow says it does get hot in the kitchen. That is true. It definitely does. Um, okay, so we talked a lot about objectification today. We definitely delved into aspects of our previous episode of the perception of male and female doll collecting. We've delved into a lot of things today. I think I'm getting myself canceled today as well. I think I've offended many people today, probably. But sometimes discussions like these need to be had. I feel like it's good to talk about these things so we can learn from each other and learn more about each other to better understand each other. I say that all the time, and I really do believe that. I think we need to do it so that we can all come together as a whole, rather than just be separates. But that's just me. That's just all I think. And if you disagree with me, you're more than free to disagree with me. Hit that dislike button, unsubscribe from this channel. You know, I don't know what else to say. I am an advocate for doll collectors. I'm an advocate for humanity. I think we all just need to get along, as one famous person said. But it is definitely a topic I think that I think is an interesting topic to discuss, not for the sake of arguing and for sake of stirring up trouble. I think it's a good thing to talk about because sometimes talking about things help you better understand things and understand life and other people. And even though this is a doll channel, we as the owners of these dolls, we are people ourselves, and we also have to deal with other doll owners. And I say deal, I don't mean that in a negative connotation, but I'm just saying, like, we meet other doll owners, we are part of a community, and we all just need to get along. But yeah, that's my soapbox. That was my 3 hours of soapbox. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. Hopefully it wasn't too spicy for you. Hopefully I didn't lose too many subscribers. Hopefully you guys don't hate me. And I'm hoping that you guys got something out of this discussion, whether or not it's that Shizu-san's an asshole, or maybe what you got out of this discussion is you learned something that was helpful to you. I don't know. But that is my episode for today, episode 41 of Beyond the Doll, Objectification. Now, before we end tonight's stream, before we're 100% done with tonight's stream, there is one last thing I do like to cover. I enjoy doing it, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can. And that would be Shizu-san's Anime Corner. Let's talk about anime before we end today's stream. What do I want to recommend today? Well, there is a show that I saw recently, and I really, really enjoyed it. And here it is. This one is called The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic. This is another isekai, as I'm always recommending isekai, although the last 4 recommendations were not isekais at all. But we're going back. We're going back, people, to the isekai thing. This show is really fun. I think it's really unique, and it's brought an aspect to just RPG fantasy that I just didn't think about. So this one is called The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, and it's really funny. So normally in RPGs, the idea of a healer type is someone that is not particularly muscularly strong, not particularly offensively strong, like they can offensively attack. Like, they're not usually known to be an attacker. The healers are usually on the back lines, healing people, taking care of the injured, the sick, the wounded. They're usually the ones that are the backbone of the party, keeping everybody going, right? Aside from the tank protecting everybody, the healer's there also protecting people and healing people. In this show, the healer is different. In this show, the healer is the most strongest person in the world, apparently. And here's the aspect of it, and you'll learn this in the first episode, so I'm not giving too much away. But the way they describe healing in this show is so cool, is the fact that, yes, when you get injured, you heal yourself and you're back to normal, right? Well, what they did in this show is that the person trained and trained and trained. Like, think about weightlifting. You weightlift so much in one day, eventually you get tired and your muscles start to get in pain and you just can't exercise anymore. And sometimes too much exercising is bad for you. You can seriously hurt yourself. But in this show, they exercise and they train and they build up their bodies to muscular proportions. And then what they do is they heal themselves. So they heal themselves. So now their muscles are big because it was healed to that big proportion, that worked out proportion, and they're no longer fatigued. So they continue working out. And then when they get tired, they heal themselves and they continue working out. So now they're insanely strong because of their healing ability. And they become ridiculously strong offensive weapons of mass destruction. like think about that. Pfft, that blew my mind. I never thought of a healer in that respect. I never did, because the healers are usually the ones with the lower HP. They have the less HP than anyone else in your group. They don't usually have offensive spells, attacking spells other than like holy, which only like kills undead and things like that. But in this show, they have totally flipped the idea of what I thought a healer was. Like in this show, the healer keeps working out and keeps getting stronger. And every time they tire, instead of taking time off to rest, they just heal themselves and then keep going. Like, what? Never thought about that. Never thought that you could do that. Not once did that enter in my mind. Like, think of you're fighting a battle. Let's say you're fighting a battle with a sword and you're cutting down your enemy. Eventually you get tired, right? Well, not the healer. The healer just heals himself and he's no longer tired. Now he's filled with energy and he just keeps attacking. He just keeps going. I never thought about it like that. Like, that was crazy. So if you want to see a really fun anime that has a lot of comedy, there's a lot of comedy in this. There's a lot of parodying. It does parody a lot of other anime shows too. So if you like parody type stuff, that's also in this. It does have serious moments as well. It does tackle social economical issues as well, which is really weird to say for like a parody comedy kind of isekai. But it does have that aspect in the show. It is 12 episodes and it leaves it open for another season. So, I mean, this could keep going. I really enjoyed watching the show a lot. And I think if you guys enjoy my recommendation thus far, I think you'll really like this. And if you're an RPG fan, like a Dungeons and Dragons fan or a JRPG fan, I think you'll really enjoy how they portrayed healers in this show. Because you have people that shoot lightning, you have people that wield gigantic great swords and things like that, and none of them, and demons and monsters, none of them compare to the healer. It's crazy. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it too. Cat Cow says, thanks for the TED Talk, mostly just circular thinking. Yeah, I know. Sometimes you could even make the argument that it was pointless having this episode, but I really think that people can get something out of it. Barbie Witch says, no, I was so worried you were going to talk about the master races. I'm so happy. No, I wasn't going to talk about that. Don't hype like that, you monster. Cat Cow says, that looks interesting. Hopefully Annie Climax will cover it. It's I watched it on Crunchyroll. I don't know if it's available on any other streaming services, but I did find it on Crunchyroll. Tempest says, Shizu-san's Isekai Corner. It is. I love isekais, man. Bro, this anime sounds really fun. It's great. You should watch it. The wrong way to use healing magic. It's really good. You should definitely watch it. Let's see. Tempest says, this anime is good, can confirm. Oh, you watched it? We need to talk about it. In Thy Geekdom Con, we could talk about it. I really enjoyed this show. Barbie Witch says, sounds meow. Cat Cow says, sometimes you just gotta talk it out. Yeah, no, and that's true. Sometimes you do. You just gotta talk it out, man. And people will be the better for it, I feel. As long as you don't force anything, you just explain yourself, you explain your beliefs, you explain your likes and dislikes, and just roll with it from there. But I'm not of the belief of forcing your beliefs on others. I think that's wrong. Like, if I think that isekais are the greatest anime ever to grace this world, I think it's wrong of me to force you guys to like isekai. I'll talk about it all I want, and it's up to you to watch it. It's up to you to change the channel and not watch my channel anymore because I keep talking too much about isekais. That is all your decision. But I'm just gonna talk about them because I like them. And if you don't like them, that's cool, man. They just hit that dislike button and unsubscribe. That's totally fine. Like, you need to watch the things that you like and do the things that you like. But if you open your mind up to other things, and even though you don't like isekai, and maybe I said something that sparks some interest about isekai, maybe you'll learn something you didn't know and gain a new thing that you like. So that's the whole thing. Just talk. Just talk to each other and hear each other out. All right, Barbie Witch says, do you feel better that what? Oh, I hate how chat is always covered by that icon. It says, do you feel better that the chat didn't erupt into a cacophony of hatred? Yes, I do feel better. That I was very scared that you guys were going to try to scalp me. Because I feel like I said a lot of like things that could be highly questionable and offensive. And I don't know if it was or is or isn't. But I'm glad that you guys championed this subject with me, as this is not an easy subject to talk about in a very cordial way. Usually topics like this get way out of hand real fast. And I tried my best to make this as objective as I can and as tame as I can. And I think that you guys in chat have done your best to do the same. So I am happy with how this episode turned out. But I don't know how well this will go. I guess the numbers will tell. Like, if I get a lot of views, if I get a lot of thumbs up, then I guess it went well. If I lose all my subscribers, then I know why. I definitely will know why. If I get a lot of dislikes and lose all my subscribers, I know why. So time will tell, I guess. Time will be the judge of how well this episode did. But thank you everybody for hanging in there on a very difficult topic. But that's everything for me today. This is episode 41 of Beyond the Doll. I am your host, as always, Shizu-san, and my twin Mirais here, OG Mirai in Milk and Mirai Anniversary Edition in Cortex, Cortex version 1. Both of them having the time of their lives, I hope, in today's episode. Again, before I leave, just want to give out my last shout out of the day. Thy Geekdom Con, May 24th through May 26th in the northern greater Philadelphia area. Do come out. We have a doll booth at this con. We are giving away free dolls and free prizes. We are having activities at the booth, and it's just a place to really hang out and find other like-minded doll folks. We're trying to grow our own doll community here on the eastern seaboard of the United States, so hopefully you guys can come out and show your support and just meet a bunch of other doll people. And by the way, it's Thy Geekdom Con, so it's not just dolls. You're going to have comic books, video games, anime, tabletop games, the whole 9 yards is going to be there. So if you like anything geeky of the sort, definitely come down to Thy Geekdom Con. Come hang out with us May 24th through May 26th. All right, I think, wow, this was a long, I did not think this episode will be this long, honestly. Although I should probably expect it, because usually topics like this take a while, but I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure how this episode would go when I was thinking this up, but I think I'm pretty satisfied with how it went. There always could be said more. There always could be more that we could have talked about. I mean, it's only 3 hours of our life when it's a lifetime worth of information that needs to be shared. So we tried our best in the amount of time that we had. And if we have time to bring this up again at a later date, then we will. But thank you everybody for coming. I really appreciate each and every one of you that come out every Friday, to my channel and just hang out and chat and enjoy yourself. So I do appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for coming. But that's it for today's episode, and next week should be the news. We should be right on schedule to do the Doll Symposium next Friday. So I will see you guys then. Take care, and bye-bye. Bye.
you all night, trying to figure you out. I just wanna make you smile. Hold your hand in my hand, looking at the sunset. Man, you're looking good tonight. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love. Falling in love. You set my wheels in motion. I'm going crazy for you. Eyes blue like the ocean. I can see you want this too. Cause you've been looking at me all night, trying to figure me out. I just wanna let you know. And I ain't playing no games, baby, you won't change. I only want you. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, it's making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love. Yeah, I'm falling in love. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. I wanna kiss you before